we're recording now. So I guess since you said you wanted to go on a 10-minute, not 10-minute, since you wanted to go on a rant about the topic today, we're talking about the RWBY Justice League movie, which me and Doctor have a lot of gripes about.
Yes, so basically why I wanted to start with this ranting. Last stream we talked about a lot about DC Comics, and we don't really need to get much into that.
Well, give your little introductory spiel anyway, since I'm not using a voice changer right now.
Okay, as I said, I'm Doctor. So RWBY is a very special place, special type of series for both of us. I was actually there when the first Red trailer actually dropped, and was very interested in how fluid RWBY's movements was when she was fighting what will later be known as the Grimm. That was a very action-packed scene that told you a lot about the character and the series without even using a single piece of dialogue outside of the song. It was great. It was amazing. Then we get the other trailers, and I'll be honest, none of them hit the same highs as the Red trailer, but they're all still pretty good. And then we got season 1. Which, while being very rocky, the fact that it was an imperfect indie project that was very fluid in its action and gave us exactly what we wanted, it was a big appeal to me. I tried to get you in when season 1 was first shown, but you didn't get past the Red trailer. What didn't interest you back then at first. And season 2 came around, and I didn't try to get you into it, but then you suddenly came to me and you're like, hey, have you heard of this new awesome series called RWBY? And it's like, that's when I told you I tried to get you into the series. After that, as we know, season 3 came around, and sadly, midway through there, OHMS passed away, leading the series to without an actual proper leader. And season 4 kind of felt that, where it felt like that they had no idea where they wanted to take the series. They just kind of were going through the motion. And almost no one who actually liked RWBY liked season 4. Then season 5 kind of came around and kind of somehow dipped in further down quality, and almost everyone also again really liked that, especially because OHMS was not only head of the series, but he was also the fight choreographer of the entire series, along with Red vs. Blue. So with the actual fight choreographer gone, the action scenes clearly took a huge nosedive. So, and that's why season 4 wasn't really so action-packed. And in season 5, I have no idea what they were even trying to do with the action packs there. But Rooster Teeth has always liked to listen to their fans and improve on from the left.
Keep going. I don't remember how these map onto the controller.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's like Rooster Teeth always likes to listen to their fans and improve next season off of what the fans kind of give. And one of the things that they were talking about and fans really wanted improvement on was story and action. And so when season 6 kind of came around, I actually had high hopes, just because they were showing clear signs that they were actually listening to the fans and they could actually improve both the fight choreography and the storytelling. But then when episode 1 of season 6 dropped, I absolutely hated it and decided to drop the series. And it was actually a pretty good thing, because I'm told, like, after the first 2 or 3 episodes, the rest of season 6, minus the apathy episode, was the worst out of the 3 seasons, 4, 5, and 6. And then came around season 7, when you dragged me back into it, because they actually started to improve on the things that they said that they wanted to improve. Season 7 was more rocky than seasons 1, 2, and 3, but you can actually see the improvement to the storytelling and actions. Some better, some worse. Here's in their improvements. And then there's that entire situation with season 8 with them being tossed under. Yeah, there's that entire moment with season 8 where they find the genie of creation when the city was actually under destruction. And tried to escape, but then fell down that portal. Through the portal. So then after that, Sorry about that. So and after that came season 9, which was Ever After. But as what most people don't actually realize, or I'm not sure if they do or not, but this entire movie during the production of the Ever After came about this movie. Like both that and season 9 and this movie were made at the exact same time by the exact same team, which is why season 9 has a lot of faults to it, and is also the short season of throughout the entire run. Okay, so that's kind of my bits when it comes to the RWBY aspect. Do you have anything to expand upon that?
I think people are usually a little too hard on RWBY, considering this was never meant to be like a particularly deep show. It's meant to be basically pulp fiction, and it's honestly meant to be just, you know, I'm not gonna say fluff, but it's just entertainment. That's all it's supposed to be. So I think people give RWBY a little bit too much of a hard time by pretending it's trying to be something it's not. But other than that, that's all I'd have to say, to be perfectly honest. I kind of zoned out because you were doing a recap of something I was already aware of.
Yeah, like I was just trying to get my the position of what I have on the series, kind of showing that I've been here since the very beginning. You were kind of a little bit later, but you're at the beginning since the series. But yeah, we basically have a lot to do with this series. Not personally, but just for being fans. But I would say, like, I do kind of agree with the with the critics a little bit, because one thing that most people don't actually realize is that you can let a lot of things slide when the series is designed for pure entertainment. Like, they know exactly what's drawing the fans in and why they really enjoy it. The problem is with volumes 4, 5, and 6 is that the entire series is built off of action and the fight choreography. And since because Ohms was the only fight choreographer, well, the only main fight choreographer there, and after his passing, I'm not sure why, but they didn't decide to find anyone to be a fight choreographer for the longest time. And so,
yes, I remember the fight with the Nook Levy where everyone was teleporting. I am aware of this.
Not only that, but also Volume 5's fight scene with the good guys versus villains. It's like, I have no idea what happened in there. But yeah, but that's why so many people became so harsh on RWBY, is because once the action kind of stopped being fun to watch, that's when everyone was able to see the cracks in the storytelling.
Well, you gotta remember the story in RWBY is secondary. It was always the action that came first. That's where I get a little bit the most sympathetic with people talking about the fight choreography, because the story was always... The story is not what we're there for, let's be perfectly honest. But anyway, so instead of... You've been talking about RWBY the entire time, why don't you start talking about the other half of the equation? Considering we're supposed to be talking about the movie that just came out.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, and for DC, we did a lot. We basically did a lot of showing off that we know this stuff last stream. So, and basically, all that needs to be known is that we enter in the series through DC the same way as most people probably did. Their parents had comics, lent them to the kids, and the kids, aka us, started reading the books, started getting entertained. And then came around the Justice League and Teen Titans cartoons that we both really enjoyed and helped us grow into the series. I'm not sure if there's anything else we can say about that, because that is basically how we entered in and started really enjoying the DC series.
Next time, I'm starting with the narration.
I already said I'm not good at beginnings.
Okay.
Why does no one ever listen to me?
So, long story short, my primary gripe with the RWBY Justice League movie is a lot of things, actually. I have a lot of specific complaints about this movie. Primarily, the first thing that comes to mind is every single character is out of character, incidentally, and I'm like, which I find a bit mind-boggling. What the fuck just happened? While I'll say the DC characters are the most out of character throughout the entire movie, I'd say it's worse with the RWBY characters, because it's kind of like you said, it's kind of that weird uncanny valley where it's like
they're close enough to feel like that they're the actual characters, but there's something off because they're so close.
Can't escape from crossing
I think it depends on the scene. Certain scenes, they're close enough that it actually becomes off-putting, even though because they're close enough, but they're still out of character. As opposed to like with the Justice League characters, with like anyone familiar with the Justice League is like, well, they're obviously out of character. Like Superman would never behave in this way, neither would Batman. So, oh my God, the frames! Oh, and I guess like literally the first scene of the movie kind of brings that to light. It's like when Superman just like fails to even try to act, and then he somehow doesn't know his powers are affected. But it's like, he would obviously know. His senses are, oh my God, I'm getting my ass absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about a character who can basically see the atoms of the world, and he's limited to a version of him that can't. And you're telling me that he wouldn't be able to be off-put by that?
Or that he wouldn't notice something's wrong. That's my problem. Yeah. Is that, again, we're talking about a guy who can see the entire electromagnetic spectrum. He can literally see through you, and he can see your soul as a passive ability. He has to try to not do these things. And you're going to tell me that when he's in this new world, he doesn't notice that the world is just so much lacking of color from his perspective? That's where I'm like, I just don't believe this particular beginning for this character. Because he should be able to immediately tell something's wrong.
And the weirdest part is, that's not the most outrageous out-of-character moment for this entire movie. Not even close.
Let's see. Oh, you really did rearrange these. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Your first bullet point as our problem with this is why teens? Like, why did they turn all the Justice League characters into teenagers? And I would agree it's...
I'm not going to say who the villain. I'm going to say for who the villain is for later. Here, but when we actually get to that point. But it's like the villain of the story. He's like in this world decided to turn all the characters, all the Justice League characters into teens, and even lower the age of the RWBY cast to when they were inside the first 3 volumes. But the question is, why? I mean, if you've shown that you can actually de-age the Justice League crew, why, and there's so much of a threat, why not turn them into a much more younger, more engaged like kids? Or
you can leave this one.
So to be fair, he didn't do Mordred any good. It actually kind of destroyed him when he tried it.
Yeah, you kind of interrupted me. I was going to say that that's not going to help him, but it's like still, it'll actually be way more logical than turning them into.
Anyway, but I don't know what move that particularly was. I haven't done that in a while. But anyway, so my main complaint with this is that there's a lot of real potential for a RWBY Justice League crossover. That could be very fun. It's just, this is not the way you make this particular crossover fun. I actually think that they should have taken the RWBY characters and put them in the DC universe, because contrary to...
You and me have actually talked about this before, after we saw the movie for the first time, because spoiler alert, we watched this movie bootlegged a few times.
Yeah, just to make sure we understood it, but I'm not paying for it.
Yeah. Yay for bootlegs.
I'll pay for the Volume 9 shit, I'm not paying for this. I'll pay for this game, I did pay for this game, but I'm not paying for whatever the trash that was.
But yeah, it's like, you and me have discussed this beforehand, but it's that the way of how the powers in the RWBY-verse works, they can actually translate very well to DC Comics. It's like transfer the RWBY characters into DC. It's like, they're not going to be A tier, probably not even B tier, but it would still be good enough that the entire league and everyone, and the entire league, Teen Titans, and just about every single hero group from the Justice League verse, from DC verse, would actually want to bring them aboard to...
Why'd you say the DC verse? It's not that hard. It's New Earth or Earth Prime. Those are the only 2 ones really floating around right now. All the other ones are just like superfluous nonsense that you don't really need to pay attention to.
It seems
true.
RWBY.
But every now and again they do come into contact with the main verse.
But anyway, my point is that the powers of the RWBY characters aren't that complex, especially when compared to a lot of DC characters. But they're odd enough that you could actually see them catching people off guard with it. Like, for example, Ruby's not particularly fast when it comes to the DC comics, but at the same time, she doesn't really have to, because the fact that she can decompile herself into rose petals is actually really important, because it makes her hard to get a handle of. And that's the thing, is like, she doesn't use her powers very optimally. Oh my god, I'm getting destroyed because I'm trying to talk. They don't use their powers very optimally in the show, and if you wanted to like tie this in to the rest of the series, you know, the RWBY series, you could have very easily had this been the RWBY cast learns how to better use their abilities by, you know, going to the DC verse. Like, because could you imagine? Because each of the girls from RWBY, they fit very well in the Teen Titans. They don't have to break up the team. It could have just been them interacting with. Holy shit! I got destroyed. Anyway, so I think it would have been better if it was like. Yeah, I think this would have been better if they had something to do with the Teen Titans. To be perfectly honest.
And you know what this crazy part is? I actually looked it up, and you know what the original synopsis of the movie was going to be? Like, what the original idea of it when it was pitched?
What?
The original idea of it is that the RWBY crew comes to the DC world. Something, portal opens, and the RWBY crew finds themselves in the DC universe.
See, that would have been a much better story, because...
Yeah, it's like, that was the original idea of this, just because they saw... Because, contrary to popular belief, these companies actually do look at the criticisms people have, and they understood a lot of the criticism people had for the RWBY Justice League comic book. And so, originally they were going to remedy that by having the RWBY crew come over to DC, but somewhere along the line, the idea was changed. Not sure why.
Probably corporate meddling, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it works much better going to the DC verse than it does the RWBY verse, because in order to go to RWBY, you have to totally nerf the mainline Justice League characters. Because as much as people say that like Salem can't be destroyed, yeah, that's true. Nothing in RWBY's universe can destroy Salem. But I can name at least 2 characters that I am very certain could kill Salem rather easily, and they're not Superman. It's Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Or Hawk Girl, whichever one you want to call her. Because that nth metal mace deals with exactly the kind of thing she deals with. It's literally purposed to kill magic. And it cancels out the powers of gods. So it's like, why would you expose... which is why, by the way, Hawkman and Hawkgirl aren't in the story. It's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Jessica Cruz, Vixen, and Cyborg. So... Oh, I got fucked. And Flash, yeah.
Which, I'll give them props. They at least realized that bringing the Hawks into the story would have been a bad idea.
I don't know that they even thought about it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, seeing how prevalent Hawkwoman has been throughout the entire animated series and all the cartoon movies, along with Hawkman's revival in the actual comics, it's like, you can... Because of all, it's like, I can actually see that those 2 characters being put onto the table of being brought into this story. Especially since because they already appeared in the RWBY Justice League comic.
Did they? I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I never read the comic because I saw the designs for the Justice League characters, and I thought to myself, this ain't it, Chief. This is not it, Chief.
Apparently Hawkman, I didn't read all of the comics, but apparently Hawkman actually had a very important role in this comic.
Anyway, so at the risk of continuing to be sidetracked on this particular topic when we have a literal bullet point thing to follow, I guess since you're the one who can more easily read without getting completely destroyed, I guess you can help lead this conversation by reminding me what bullet points we're supposed to be talking about as we go through. So it looks like yeah, why Remnant as a whole as opposed to the Kingdoms? Actually, that one I don't think is really a problem. I think they sufficiently address why in the show. I think that part can actually be explained in world, so I don't think that one is actually.
Well, the problem is, it's like the villain of the movie was having issues actually keeping everything intact because of how large Remnant is as shown. It's like, so if you're going to actually try to keep everything intact enough to keep these characters away from finding out the proper answer, instead of trying to render the entire world a Remnant, he could just pick one of the kingdoms that so to keep the processing powers limited. But Vacuole was the main place that they took place the entire movie, so it's like he could have just rendered the entire area and not suffered as much rendering issues as he did in the movie.
So yeah, I guess we can agree. I guess we can agree to disagree there, because I see that as like a pride cometh before the fall kind of deal for the villain. Okay, so I'm getting absolutely reamed here. So, okay, so let's not focus on the fucking meta narrative stuff. I just looked at it and said stuff about Volume 9. Let's not do like meta narrative stuff here. We're talking specifically about the movie as the movie.
Well, I kind of put that in there because the meta narrative actually helps bring out why this movie became so bad and why so many decisions were made.
Nobody can stand against us. Come on, boys.
So, and if you want to skip it, we can still skip it.
Yeah, let's just skip it, because I'm talking about like the formal quality of the thing in and of itself. I'm not talking about like the background context. Someone else can deal with that. Someone else who's more interested in that kind of stuff. I'm more concerned about the representation of the characters as the characters. That's why I highlighted those in the notes. That's why literally every note I took in like my version of it is only about the characters and their interactions for the most part.
Well, I can't add that in because it will actually help explain how it works. But to basically sum it up, so we're not too much on there, like during Volume 9's work, this movie was brought to them to make, and instead of dividing the work evenly or asking Warner Brothers for help, they basically had the team work on both projects. Most of the work was done on Volume 9, so that's why you'll see a lot of the movie is very changed and missing frames.
Oh yeah, the animation is a little choppy on some spaces. Again, back onto the primary topic. We can round back to these complaints as we're talking about the characters.
Okay.
Okay. So what was the next thing we wrote down?
So the next thing would be the division in the teams, which I do agree and disagree with many other choices. Like, pairing Superman with RWBY and Yang, that was actually a very brilliant choice. Diana with Blake, a little questionable, but I can understand what they were going. Weiss and Batman, I understand fully why they did that. But everyone else, like dumping the rest of the Justice League, the rest of the Justice League team with John's team, and not even showing us how they actually met, that just felt very odd. That felt like that they were just trying to wash away these characters, wash away that entire incident. Well, not wash away, more like
skip over.
Yeah, skip over.
Are you sure you're not ESL? not to steal the Pipkin Pippa joke, but are you sure you're not ESL? Anyway,
my brain runs faster than my mouth.
Anyway, okay. So what? Where are we on this thing?
I swear that girl. She's always
so next would be inconsistent recall moments.
Oh yeah, you're talking about like how there's an inconsistency based on how they remember. So the basic plot here is that they're kind of trapped in this particular, I guess, spoilers for a shitty movie. They're trapped in a bit of a artificial world, and there's something interfering with their ability to remember how they got there. So, and it's a little inconsistent about when and where they remember things. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense, such as remembering that Beacon fell because you've literally gone to Beacon and the memory comes up, and sometimes the memories seem to be completely fucking random. So,
not only that, but something that we didn't put in there is like all the memory stuff. It revolves around Team RWBY and the world of Remnant. While when it comes to Justice League, the only thing they focus on is one fight that they don't really even bring much detail into.
I can tell you exactly why they did that. Because if they actually focused on the things the Justice League could do, then RWBY would become secondary in their own movie.
Fair enough. But so it feels kind of odd.
It's kind of hard to compete with people who have 80. Well, I guess technically they're using the Prime Earth example, and the one I'm most familiar with is the New Earth examples, where you know Batman has straight up 30 years of crime fighting experience.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a bit of an unfair comparison, but that's exactly why they did that. But there's a real. This is the only thing I'm going to talk about the meta narrative. Oh shit! I forgot the game. I forgot I was playing the game for a moment.
You probably should have chosen less active game.
No, I picked the more active game so I could actually lose more often. Anyway, this is a feature, not a bug. This is a feature, not a bug. Anyway, so my point was that, and a lot of people I would give the benefit of the doubt that the amnesia plot is there to tell a genuinely good story. But considering we know who wrote this fucking movie's script is the bisexual Tim Drake writer, I don't give him that particular leeway. I'm fully convinced that this memory bullshit is there specifically so she doesn't have to write the characters true to form. Because there's no defense in a lot of the shit she's written. Like, the whole thing with the bisexual Tim Drake, it's like, yeah, the reason people don't believe it is because we could literally read his mind for the last 30 fucking years. We'd know if he's gay. That fucking simple. And we know for... So it's like, this is the kind of person who'll take other people's material and then twist it to their own personal, like, ideas and fancies. So it's like, no, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt that this was done accidentally. I think that this was done entirely on purpose by the writer so that they could get away with more, or the characters being out of character.
Which, I'll be honest, I'm very sick and tired of that. It's like, I'm getting really sick and tired of seeing characters in series I really enjoy get torn apart and basically become worthless.
But anyway,
because people are given to people who don't actually care about it.
But anyway, get back to the character thing, because we need to justify why we're saying they're out of character.
Alright, let's show them a bit of our strength.
Okay, so on my list, I basically have the RWBY team, the RWBY cats mentioned first because, like I said, they are the least defenders of this, but also the most jarring because of how close yet off they are.
Okay, well, go on and list an example. I can't read the text, remember.
I was about to say before you interrupt. So in the first part, and the first one mentioning skipping over the memory part, there's a moment in the scene where Wonder Woman picks up Oscar, who and slams him to the wall because he seems to be very off inside the scene, and Yang is somehow very impressed, but at the same time very horny of that entire scene.
Yeah, that was really fucking weird. It's like, we get it, you're gay, but that's not how Yang would act in that situation. Particularly because that feat of strength, picking up Oscar like that, is not particularly impressive in RWBY's universe. Fucking RWBY herself could do that. She went toe-to-toe with a Berengal, so she at least has, if we're lowballing a Berengal, she at least has fucking gorilla scale strength. So this is not an impressive feat of strength for like Diana to demonstrate.
And again, Oscar is a kid in this scene. He's not a full-grown man.
Yeah.
So
but even if it was,
so it's very unimpressive. So it's very unimpressive, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, and I guess in that case, it's more of like the demeanor that's demonstrated, the aggressive demeanor. But also, it's like, we've seen people act this aggressively in the series, and that's not the kind of behavior she demonstrates there. So it's like, again, I don't buy this particular characterization.
Yeah.
So anyway, continue.
And then, There's also the fact that Blake was very jealous of how Yang was looking at Diana throughout the entire movie, but that's less. That's rarely focused on, so I'm not going to bring that up too much. So the next part is, and this is a Cyborg point when Cyborg basically tells Nora, who I need to remind you has trauma because her and Rin lost their entire family to Super Grim. Cyborg tells Nora, "You haven't learned how to adapt thanks to childhood trauma," and Nora just laughs it off in the movie.
Yeah, that scene didn't make any sense because while Cyborg wouldn't have known this, he's basically making fun of her trauma as well. So it's like, I don't really understand how that got a chuckle, because that was a pretty fucking... Cyborg wouldn't have known it, but that was a pretty fucking vicious jab at their, like, backstory. And a pretty particularly central part of their backstory, too.
Yeah, like, if anything, that would make Nora mad and potentially punch him. Just because she's a punch first, ask questions later, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, next up on the list is when basically Superman, when most of the team is put together and they're trying to devise a plan on to figure out what's going on and find the rest of the team. Superman is about to give orders, but then we have Yang mention, "I'm not following someone into battle who's never been on Remnant before."
There was no about that. He actually was giving orders, but he was giving orders to his team.
She's always getting carried away. Sometimes I feel like
which is kind of odd. So it's like, it makes you wonder why Yang was so irritated about Superman giving orders to his team. But there's actually an even worse aspect to that, because later on, the arguing throughout both teams ends up becoming a lot bigger until Superman slams the table and then gives orders to both teams. And it's like, and everyone agrees with it. So it's like, why were you upset about Superman potentially giving you orders right then and there, but then later on, you're perfectly okay with Superman giving you orders?
It seems it's our turn, Ruby. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I thought that was pretty weird too. But anyway, I just find it really weird that they couldn't use the fucking context to understand that it was a team leader talking to his team, just as like what happened when Ruby, Team Ruby and Team Juniper had to deal with, had to work together.
Yep. Like, the entire situation felt extremely forced. Like, this was not how an argument between the troops would feel. It was like, this was clearly artificial.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in that movie, where it's just that there's a very little natural movement in this particular movie. Absolutely bodied.
Next on the list is something that is clearly a misunderstanding on how an ability worked, how it was started. So in a moment throughout the movie, Jessica is having difficulty finding her Green Lantern ring. And so in John, in order to try to help her and unlock her semblance, he tells her, and when she asks him how he unlocked his, he says, "A friend believed in me."
Yeah, that's not at all how that fucking happened. He only unlocked his semblance because Weiss was about to fucking bleed to death. Oh my god.
Yeah, so for those who didn't actually see the series, what happened was the main villain of the series, Cinder Falls, was basically, in Volume 3, killed John's best friend, and in a very tragic way. And
so they don't need to know that much. Basically, the way Jean unlocked his power is Weiss, the chick with the white hair there, was stabbed in a fight with, who was it? It was, who was involved?
Cinder.
It was it Cinder?
Emerald.
Yeah, it was Cinder, Emerald,
Cinder's
Hazel, and, I'm trying to remember.
Mercury.
Yeah, Mercury was in the... Leo, that's who it was. That was the headmaster that was in charge of everything that fucking betrayed him. So, But
Yes.
his semblance unlocked through trauma, and that's a very common thing in the RWBY backstories. Is a lot of their powers unlock or become established as a trauma response. For example, Ren, his ability to basically mute negative emotions. How did that happen? It's how he survived the attack from the Nukklevi. Or what about Nora? How did she get her powers? She survived getting hit by a fucking lightning bolt, which is why she can channel electricity. So a lot of these characters, they get their power from traumatic events, and it's particularly, basically the ability allows them to survive the traumatic event that gives them their power in the first place. So Jean's description that a friend believed in him is completely fucking untrue. That's not the closest thing is when his aura is unlocked in the first season, but that's also still not true. Yeah.
Because part of how his aura unlocked is his friend Kara, the one that I mentioned beforehand. And he used her aura, she saw her aura to John to unlock his. That's basically how many people of the series are said to have their auras unlocked, which their aura is what creates their semblance.
And now, speaking of this, I don't understand how this is such a fucking hard concept in this movie, because none of the Justice League characters, who, I might remind you, have to deal with the Martian fucking Manhunter, and Zatanna Zatara, and John Constantine, and Raven Roth, and fucking Daxamites like Mon-El, how they can't understand how semblances work. Semblances are actually really fucking easy, and Dust isn't that hard to understand either. None of the characters having a difficult time understanding what these are, it doesn't make any sense that they don't understand this. A large contingent of all of their rogues galleries have very complicated powers that are much easier than these. At least to understand.
You mean much more difficult? You mean much more difficult?
Oh yeah, much more difficult. Again, imagine trying to explain to someone the powers and abilities of Cyborg Superman and how they relate to each other.
Sometimes I feel like she drives me crazy if I were in
To be fair, he has a fucking wild set of powers.
Or the House of Mysteries from from the Constantine series.
There's a motherfucking... There's a sentient road in DC Comics that every one of these characters is aware of. None of this shit should be hard for the characters in the Justice League. All of this is actually really fucking simple.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it is that they're having issues with
Okay, so to Steelman the movie, and I hate that I have to do this, but to be perfectly honest, to Steelman the movie, since we know that the thing containing them in this false space happens to be messing with their memories, it's entirely possible it's also messing with their their cognitive and their emotional processing too, which might explain why they are having such a difficult time understanding this stuff. But I don't really see a lot of evidence for that. When it's explained why they were made into teenagers, it was mentioned that it was for the emotional irregularities caused by hormones. Which is not a good excuse, because having been a teenager myself, yes, you feel things more heavily than you should, but that doesn't mean you can't control yourself. You can control yourself. It's a matter of discipline. And who would be more disciplined than fucking Batman as a kid?
Well done.
Also, we have an entire...
Or Superman, actually, yeah.
That's what I'm about to bring up. We have multiple series runs as Superman as a teenager, and even as a kid, and he's well more disciplined than what they have him in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, when you can lift a house up as a toddler, in order to not kill someone, you have to be very aware of how strong you are versus everyone else, and have the discipline not to take advantage of that. But that brings me to the point of they have to depower every one of the Justice League members, because even Batman can keep up, even though he has no superpowers himself. He can keep up with a lot of the shit that the RWBY crew can. Granted,
the irony is they empowered him, but at the same time, they gave him powers.
Yeah, it's like, fucking, it's very weird. Also, Batman has a weird obsession in this movie with having developed powers. I have a hard time believing the guy who was literally the god of knowledge at one point and who's seen what the overfixation with superpowers would lead him to in the Bat Metal series, would be all that impressed with having the power of flight and, I guess, like, what the fuck is it, acid spit that he has? I really don't understand what that one scene is about.
Yeah, it's supposed to be acid spit, and then he also has that weird bat vision. I'm not even sure what that thing's supposed to do. It's like some sort of weird psychic sonar.
See, that's odd, because that breaks the rules of Faunus as well, because Faunus are supposed to have a very particular set of traits from a specific animal. But I can't think of any bat that has acid spit. Oh my god, frames!
Yeah, so that's kind of weird. Like, they managed to somehow depower Batman by actually giving him powers. I'm not even sure how they managed to pull that off.
Yeah, but
to move on to... So, move on to the next part. It's just because we're still on the part of talking about the negatives with the RWBY crew. So, there was a scene in the movie where Yang, Blake, and Wonder Woman were in a jet, and in the middle of it, they got attacked by a bunch of flying grims. I forget what the B ones are called, but that's the ones who attacked them. And inside of it, in order to fend them up, it is Wonder Woman and Blake who jump out of the plane to fight them. When, in all honesty, if you know how their powers work, it should have been Yang who jumped out instead of Blake.
Yeah, Yang literally flies around in a couple fights using her. That's literally how she landed in the first season. Is she just used the recoil from the fucking shot gauntlets she uses? Oh my god, I don't remember fighting this guy at fucking all. Holy shit. Okay, but okay. So the thing about that isn't just that they had the wrong girl jump out for the fucking aerial fight. It's also the fact that they completely butcher Wonder Woman's, growing up. I'm sorry, but Wonder Woman didn't grow up in a fucking war zone. She grew up raised by soldiers. She didn't grow up in a fucking war zone. What Blake is describing in the movie does not map onto how, Wonder Woman actually lived her childhood.
Come on, boys. Let's go find our next match.
If anything, it's like the one who's closest of the characters that is in the movie to what Blake grew up as would be Batman.
Yeah.
But they're not going to let a rich white guy be equated to the character who is supposed to represent the problems with racism.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, the fucking writer is an intersectionalist, and they are, quite fixated on those things that don't matter. So,
yeah.
You always got to check those boxes off because you gotta make the respective proletariat of any individual power structure into the new bourgeoisie. But anyway. Hello, Nacho.
So next on...
I take it you like it better when I'm not using the voice changer?
Oh, so Nacho's entered into the chat?
Yeah, Doctor can't see you because in order to keep up with the stream, he has to watch it on the actual Discord stream. So, I'm in a different group currently streaming this.
Okay. So next up on the list is a very weird one. I'm not sure why it is even inside the movie at all. So, throughout the movie, Cyborg and Ren...
What was the thing with fucking Cyborg trying to cut Ren? I don't understand that.
Oh, that's actually next on the list. It's like not only is Cyborg trying to cut Ren, but at the same time, it's like Ren and Cyborg are constantly trying to help and save Nora from different situations. But Nora, at a certain point, is clearly frustrated at it, and at a certain point, even complains about them helping, trying to save her. Which, throughout her entire series, she has never once complained about anyone saving her butt, even from situations she could handle herself.
Yeah, because she understands the team's trying to look out for her. And she does the exact same thing.
Come on, boys. Let's go find our next match. I swear.
Fair enough,
that's
Nacho.
a very weird one. And... Oh, what did Nacho say?
Let
me check.
It was the thing about the voice changer.
Oh. Okay, so next on my list about the rubies, and well, it's the last one about the last main part about the RWBY cast, and it's that at the end of the movie, it turns out the way of how the RWBY crew were put into the simulation is because, well, they had advisors and they were entering into a simulation type of event that the villain used in order to drag them into this world. And so at the end, it's like there's no clear indications to tell us how the RWBY crew knew that the world that they were in was a fake one created by a villain, and
yeah, that was weird.
Simulation they were.
Yeah, it's almost like that scene in. Did you ever read XXX Holic?
I do hope you can hold your own in this fight.
The Clamp series.
The
Clamp series that ran alongside and parallel to the Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles.
Can't escape from crossing fate. Fight.
I read a little bit of it. I think I'm actually got too far into it.
Okay, well, it's actually Tsubasa that I'm thinking of too, but in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, and I think they touch on this in XXX Holic as well, they have this exact situation where there's an entire story arc that takes place in a virtual reality, and our cast wakes up from the virtual reality, and it's immediately apparent that, you know, all of the shit that they just went through was fake. And, like, they're pretty fast to adapt to it because it's, you know, while it's weird, it would take you a moment to adapt from it. It's pretty clear when you wake up from the fucking Oculus Rift metaverse world, you know, the shit that just happened is fake. So, I don't really understand why it is that they're even entertaining the idea that what they just went through is real. Where they were just in a virtual reality and everything that they experienced was experienced through a headset.
Like, the way if I was making this movie, the way I would have done it to help the RWBY crew realize that what they were experiencing wasn't part of the simulation they were supposed to be. It's that whoever Ironwood basically had in order to keep watching them while they were inside the simulations, like after they get out, they talk to whoever the person, I'm just going to call him Mr. X. Like, they would talk to Mr. X about how great they found the simulation, but also buggy at the same time. And then Mr. X looks confused and it's like, that's not the simulation. I have no idea what's going on, what you girls are talking about.
Yeah. I just think it would have made more sense if they just actually dropped them in another world, like they did in the Volume 9.
Seems it's our turn, RWBY.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what's actually something I want to bring up with the game, is the entire fact that both Volume 9 and this movie were being made at the same time. It's like, both Volume 9 and this movie suffered heavily because they had the team work on both projects at the same time, which is also why Volume 9 was heavily delayed on the process of them making Volume 11. So it's like, instead of forcing the teams to expand beyond what they could handle, the smartest thing done is like if they wanted to make the Justice League crossover, because of instead of having this 3-part story that they're planning on, turning it to 2, and then basically have the 2 movies be Volume 9 and be quickly ever after that they wanted into the story.
I'm sorry, I kind of zoned out while I got absolutely fucking obliterated.
Basically, I was saying, it's like, both this movie and Volume 9 were suffered because the team had to overwork on both of them. So if they wanted to do both, they should have found a way to combine both together. Heaven forbids, have Warner Brothers focus and be the ones making the movie.
God damn, I should have blocked. I don't remember how to grab, I'm not gonna lie. But,
yeah, and I'm not repeating myself just in case you didn't hear that.
No, I heard you. I'm just saying, I don't remember how to grab in this game.
Okay. But that's basically all of the major negatives I have with the RWBY group. There's more we could talk about, but there are more nitpicks that relate more with the other characters.
So anyway, back on the track. Let's get back on track of talking about how everything was mischaracterized.
Okay,
what was the next point?
The next one I have on. So the next point is all about Vixen, because she is the least offender of this Justice League crossover. And the first part is the biggest one that you ended up bringing up, why can Vixen fly?
Oh yeah, that I remember that when she fucking summons the power of the Raven, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't remember this shit at all. Is this like an Earth Prime thing that just happened when I like dropped off the fucking map? The fuck is this? I was just I was so confused. I was like, what in hell is this?
I cannot say if it's part of the new estate because I did not read much of that. But if it's part of Rebirth or New 52, you're going to have to show me exactly where it's at because I have read a lot of both of those and did not see that at all.
Yeah, and it seems that they took away basically all of her animal powers except for the fucking gorilla up until she gets her necklace back. And it's like, I don't know if like the necklace is giving her back the access to animal powers, in which case she still shouldn't be able to fly. But the only power she uses before that is the fucking gorilla. And I'm like, I get the idea that it matches the bearing goal, and the fact that, you know, it's easier for the 3D animators to animate just one animal. But the problem with this is that, oh my god, she's not fucking fighting enough. The problem with that is that there's a lot of animal power she could have used that she would have reasonably used if she could have. Like, why didn't she at any point increase her mass to that of an elephant? She's done that before against supervillains with super strength to throw them off balance. So it's like...
Also, the steal a joke that you made when we first watched this movie together.
Yeah, I know. We all know the joke. We all know the joke. Remember, this is Twitch. I was calling out the fact that intersectionalists are blatantly... Well, not blatant... Yeah, they are blatantly racist. But, yes, we all know what the joke is. Just remember Twitch has TOS.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's an insult to her character, because, like, of all the animals that you associate her with, that's the thing you associate her with. But, yeah.
I feel like she'd drive me crazy if I were anyone else.
Okay, so next up on the list is the weird phrasing of... near the halfway point in the movie, it's like there's a huge army of Grimm run by a giant wyvern that the two teams team up together in order to face. And right before the fight, Vixen asked, "So, what do we do?" Instead
of what's the plan, yeah.
Like, if she said, "What's the plan?" that would have made 100% perfect sense. But no, she says, "So, what do we do?" Implying like she has no idea how any of this works.
Yeah, it's not like she hasn't fought giant monsters before. Although, granted, considering that apparently only RWBY's team was able to piece together bits of their previous lives, it's like, which, oh my god, I can't fucking stand how just this idea that they can't remember the past lives just completely fucks up their characters. Go on.
It seems it's our turn, RWBY.
I wasn't actually going to say anything. I was letting you speak there because you had an entire rant to do.
Well, because the thing is, like, it relates back. That's the only way you can justify how Batman is talking to fucking Wonder Woman when they meet each other in the movie. It's like, dude, you're just as much of a warrior as Wonder Woman, if not possibly more. Yes, you've both been learning how to fight since you were, like, young kids. But the main difference is that, you know, you had to do this all basically, like, you know, you had to do this. So the thing about Batman is it's all about the fact that he cultivated himself. He had teachers, yes, but ultimately he's the one who had to cultivate himself. That's not how Wonder Woman grew up. She had literally an entire fucking kingdom.
Yeah, it's like, not only that, but it's like you said, it's like Batman had to cultivate all this information himself. Like, Batman had to go specifically to these teachers to learn how to do all these amazing moves that he does, and take the aspects that he wants to keep and eats while also figuring out how to negate the weaknesses of their practices. While Wonder Woman is like, until she decided to go with... until she decided to come to the outside world, she really had no real practice before her fighting styles, except for the random sports that they gladiator sports that they do.
Oh, I was trying to get I was trying to get it on the last HP. Anyway, but like I really just wanted to get that down to the last. Like, I was on the last HP, and I was like, oh, if I can get this in. Anyway, so But yeah, it's like there's a reason why Batman is a part of the founding of the fucking Justice League. He's a man whom gods respect.
Nobody can stand against us.
So who the fuck? What the fuck is a demigod gonna fucking like talk shit to him?
She's always getting carried away. Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like she
So like, and granted, you know, no one was talking shit to him, but it's like, why would Batman of all people have this particular disposition when literal gods respect him? There's a reason literal gods respect him. Even if he can't go toe-to-toe with them, motherfucker has proven himself time and time again. So anyway, what's the next list? What's the next thing on the list?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's about this weird conception of Cyborg not really knowing if he could actually fight well in this new world, since because to fight the Grim, he has to be far away from the technology.
I see. Granted, different continuity, but did the writer of this never watch the episode of Teen Titans with Atlas?
Ruby. Yeah, let's do this.
Like, yeah, it's like not only that, but so this isn't the first time Cyborg has to fight
without technology.
Nature that he,
You mean like the time he got literally isekai'd?
And yeah, like, and it's not even, and that's not even the first time that he fought a force of nature by himself,
that's ranged.
running low on power. That has actually happened several times throughout the entire comic book run. And so it's like, it's kind of odd that we have now a story of Cyborg wondering if he can actually handle this situation without technology, when it's something he has done in much harsher conditions.
Cyborg's a fucking athlete. There's no question about this. He knows what his body can do. He's an athlete. So it's like, yes, he should be able to hold his own, even without tech.
Hell, even if he doesn't have that time yet, we have seen in countless continuities on how physically strong Cyborg is. Like, he is way stronger than any human can ever reach. Each on their own without any type of these super formulas or such. So it's like and so he can actually, even if he can't rely on us, and because he needs to reserve battery power, he can just go all fisticuffs on them and punch holes through their frail bodies.
Well, the thing is okay. So I've never done the strength calc to see how physically strong Cyborg is. So I'm not gonna say he's as strong as all of the RWBY girls. I suspect Yang is actually probably stronger than him physically. That said,
I'm pretty sure of that, actually.
That said, you know, he is definitely physically strong enough to go toe-to-toe with a fucking bear. So it's like, yeah, most of these Grimm should be things he should be able to hold his own against with his hands, but also, we don't know how much of that strength translates over to this new world because they're not in their actual bodies. So I guess if you wanted to steelman the writing, that would be a thing to point out, is he's in an unfamiliar body, mostly flesh and blood. He doesn't know how strong the actual exoskeleton that he has is. That might be part of his worry. But he doesn't act like that when he's worried. That's part of the thing, is like, we know how he acts when he's worried.
Yeah, like, that should have been something that they were going with. They should have actually brought up either subtly or straightforward. In fact, I would much rather prefer straightforward, because I've seen this writer's other works. She can't do subtle for Jack.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so next point.
Also, it's like,
Continue.
it's kind of a continuation with that. The exact same scene, because like right after that, Cyborg gets mad and starts arguing with the characters, and then like out of nowhere, he just tells Superman, "You are not my dad."
Yeah, that line makes no fucking sense.
Can't escape from crossing fate.
Like even in the literal Teen Titans, he doesn't speak like that. But I think this goes back. I think this goes back to the whole thing of like leftist, specifically intersectionalist, because I never see this from non-intersectionalists. I think this goes back to like intersectionalists can't help but project their own experiences into writing. It's like, remember that time when we were just talking about like all these characters that we were talking about with intersectional writers? It was She-Ra. That's what we were talking about. Like everyone's major problem is, oh, we got fucking parent issues. There's more than one way. There's more than one problem you can suffer from, motherfucker. Not everyone with a bad life has parental issues.
Not not only that, but it's like I've actually gone and looked at looked at a huge number of continuities for Cyborg, and granted, I haven't actually seen all of them. It's kind of impossible for me to do so, but every single one that I've seen, and I have seen a lot throughout Cyborg's entire lifespan. Yeah, he does have dad issues, but none of them Cyborg actually fully blames on his father, especially after he becomes a cyborg.
Yeah, you know, when he saves his life.
Yeah, it's like, so in this entire situation of Cyborg just saying, you're not my dad, not only feels odd because it feels like that you're putting into putting a situation into something that it's not, but at the same time, it's like, Cyborg, this is something Cyborg is adamantly against. He doesn't blame his father for the mishaps that has happened to him.
Yeah.
And then continuing off of that, it's like Cyborg actually was very angry at Ruby and was basically arguing against her leadership until Superman kind of informs him by putting his hand on his shoulder that Cyborg's stepping out of line, and Cyborg doesn't even apologize to Ruby for basically verbally attacking her.
Yeah, at no point does he apologize. Cyborg does apologize when he's in the wrong, which irritates the fuck out of me. Not the apology part, but the fact that he never actually apologized.
Yeah, it's like, and
it seems it's our turn.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, that scene really gets to me because it's like, I really like Cyborg, and the fact that they took away the biggest, one of the biggest aspects that helps us enjoy Cyborg, the fact that he's willing to admit his wrongs, that is very irking. So you have anything more to say about that, or should I move on to the next bullet point, which is the last for Cyborg?
Let's see what the next bullet point is.
Okay, the next bullet point, and it's the last part for Cyborg. Right before they went to go fight the Horde of Grimm, they were dividing the team to who decide who goes to where. And when Cyborg was asked if he wants to stay and keep trying to hack into the system, he says he's tried, failed, but he wants to go fight, which is something Cyborg would never do. If he's trying to hack into a system and he fails, he doesn't give up. He tries harder. He tries new tactics. He doesn't give up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pride issue there.
Yeah.
Frames. But yeah, I do agree that he would not have given up. Like, Batman and Cyborg should have been involved in the hacking, both of them.
Yeah. And that's kind of the last of it for Cyborg. Up next is Wonder Woman, and starting off with an actual major complaint, but at the same time can be considered minor. So when Wonder Woman first enters into the picture, she is tied up and brought to Blake's mother for questioning, and then Wonder Woman just breaks out of her mind, beats up her hostages, and then tries to negotiate with Blake and her mother there, which is kind of odd because if you know anything about Wonder Woman, you know if she gets tied up or bound by a man, she loses her powers. Yeah, that's they don't really. To be fair, how many times does that actually fucking happen? But that is an actual weakness she has. And I don't know if the new 52 writers did away with this or if they just forgot about it. But that's a pretty fucking classical power that was even in the new not the new 52, in the New Earth saga. So we're talking post Infinite Earths and pre-Flashpoint shit. It's like, and I'll tell you, in New 52 and Rebirth, she still has that weakness.
Yeah, so it's like the only thing that would make that make sense is a couple things. It's like, I guess maybe taking away their powers also takes away their weaknesses. Okay. I mean, we can't really test that.
We can't really test that because there's no kryptonite for Superman, or someone's like, okay, I can possibly get into that, but it would have been something nice to actually know.
Yeah.
Because
to me it just seems really fucking weird. It's like, okay. And then and it's like, okay, so if everything works fundamentally differently than they do from their world, what's the whole impetus behind getting the ring and Vixen's necklace? Now granted, they're both magic and magic does work in this new world, but I think you get my point. It's like, if your powers don't work, how do you know that the things that you're looking for you know, how do you know that they don't work in the first place? And also, when Jessica Cruz is like panicking that she's lost her ring and she can't get it back, and Diana tries to dismiss her. Okay, so we're saying.
Hang on, not that. I'm saving Jessica Cruz stuff for last because she is the biggest offender for characters not being in character.
Okay.
I'm specifically saving her for last for a good reason.
She was my favorite character. She was my favorite character in the movie up until she said one thing, and I'm like, fuck this bitch.
Actually, I have to correct because the entire situation that you're about to bring up, I actually have it here as a blight against Wonder Woman. So it's like, you want to tackle that part?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
It's about the... Yeah.
That's the fucking... When Wonder Woman just did... There's a point where... Because Jessica Cruz has lost her power ring. And, you know, she can't call it back. And she points out, it's like, we need to find my ring. And Diana dismisses her. It's like, we don't have time for this. It's like, you don't have time for the most powerful fucking weapon in the universe. In multiple universes, actually. This shit gives Hal Jordan the capacity to contain a fucking supernova out of sheer willpower. And that's just like base level shit. So it's like, no, you have nothing more important right now than to find that motherfucking ring.
I've actually seen all the stuff that ring can do. It's like, this ring right here can actually get some of the greatest... There's a reason why the Green Lantern Corps has always been one of the more powerful groups in the entire DC universe. And it's because of what these rings can do. It's like, no, in any continuity, even if they just met the Green Lantern, just hearing about what this ring can do, there is no way the Justice League would just allow this ring to be out in the open in enemy territory. They would hunt down in order to find this ring. This ring will be priority number 1.
Yeah, because ah man, there's a reason fucking Darkseid wants a Green Lantern ring.
Yeah,
but the reason he wants it is because he can't make one. But also he understands how effective a tool this actually would be. Anyway, so I lost my fucking mind when I heard that. I was like, "This is there has to be something really severely retarding your memories, because there is no way Wonder Woman would be like, what? We don't have time for this. Your teammate fucking needs this. First of all, okay.
So one of my buddies is inside the stream, and she doesn't really know much about the DC Comics. So to help explain to her about how powerful this ring is. In the U.S., the president has president's assistants always carry something called a football, which is the U.S. nuclear codes. What to help equate to the situation, it's like if this football was lost somewhere in the street, out in the open, and the president just said, "Oh, it doesn't matter, just leave it." That's how ridiculous this is.
Yeah, there's a reason why, you know, human beings with this ring, now granted, particularly strong strong-willed human beings, can go up against characters that have completely boundless feats like Superman, where his strength is actually infinite, and he can basically, you know, if you can get him angry enough, he can fucking punch hard enough to emulate an exploding star, and that's not even his upper bound. So it's like, yeah. This is so totally outside the bounds of even most like characters in this particular cosmos. It is unfathomable that they would not be heavily invested in finding this ring.
Oh man. Like, yeah, I guess you guys didn't know that this entire movie infuriated us.
Yeah. And it infuriated us, me in particular, as a fan of both DC and RWBY. Like, yes, I understand RWBY's not a particularly, like, polished work, but I still like it. I still think it's charming. So I want it to succeed. I want it to get better. And, like, when I see this, I'm like, I can't fucking stand this shit. Because it's like, first of all, the person writing this movie is not even a fucking writer for RWBY. And yes, they're a writer for DC, but considering what they've written, they sure as hell don't fucking read DC. Sorry.
I was about to say, like, what do you mean it just infuriates you? I'm just as big a fan of both of these works.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know,
crazy if I were anyone.
The ring is so powerful that they had to give it a commonly accessible weakness just to make sure that it could not be exploited without recourse. That's how powerful it is. They made it to where unless you have exceedingly powerful will, you cannot interact with the ring with the color yellow. And the reason they did this is because if a Green Lantern were to abuse the ring, granted, you're not chosen if you have any indication that you will abuse the ring in the beginning, but you can, for example, have circumstances where a Green Lantern basically defects and abuses their ring. And because of that, they had to... Yeah, and because of that, they had to... The Guardians of the Universe built in a common and exploitable weakness for the ring just so that this doesn't get out of hand if someone decides to abuse it. Now, granted, when the ring basically allows you to create anything you can imagine and reinforce it in proportion to your will, to the extent that a human being can contain a fucking supernova, or, you know, manipulate black holes, it's like, yeah, this is a little fucking busted.
Yeah, like, people joke about the common weakness to yellow, but it's like, if you see it, they forget just how overpowered this one item is.
Yeah, the choosing yellow was not an accident. There's a reason for it.
Get ready. Get ready.
Okay.
Okay, so continue.
Okay, so the next part is more or less a minor one, but still like a major showing that they don't know the character. So during before the attack of the Flying Grimps on the airship, Wonder Woman actually gets surprised seeing both Yang and Blake next to her, even though those are the only three on the ship, and she's confused on how they're still flying until Yang points out that it's in autopilot.
Oh yeah, the woman with the invisible jet that usually flies on autopilot is confused about how autopilot works. Yes, interesting.
Yeah, it's like... Granted, it's an entire situation. It would have been odd for any of the other Justice League members to be just as confused, but it would more justified for any other character. The fact that it's Wonder Woman in particular, the one who basically is the definition of use autopilot, jump out plane to attack, is the one who's confused.
Oh my god, I'm hitting frames!
No, they've been frames all this time. You're nothing but frames.
Oh my god! Okay, there it goes. I don't know what was about that, but it was killing my PC. Oh shit. Yeah, but that would be like if Batman was confused about who's flying the plane when no one is... I would imagine you should be smart enough to realize that no one's gonna accidentally kill themselves doing this. So they probably have some kind of autopilot.
You will
So yeah, you can consider that one a minor one, but that's really irking, specifically because it's Wonder Woman they chose to have this say this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also we go back to the whole thing where Blake. This is the one thing of characterization that's always bothered me with Blake. Blake makes a lot of claims that she can't fucking evidence. Like Adam, you know, the bad guy of her personal story has more ability to evidence his claims with the fucking branding on his eye than Blake actually can, seemingly, with anything that she's talked about.
To be fair, it's like that whole entire racist aspect with the fondness is being discriminated. It's like they have drastically dropped the bomb, dropped that ball hard. It's like every single attempt that they have done in order to actually try to showcase that one inside a clearer light, they either just pull back because they think that they can't showcase it correctly, or they showcase it in the worst way possible.
Considering the Faunus are basically treated like mutants, why didn't they just fucking rip off the mutants if they were that concerned about it?
I don't know, like, which is kind of odd because Monty actually took a lot of inspirations from. Well, we do know about the anime aspect inspirations because of how the entire series is designed, but a lot of the aspects of RWBY is taken from American comics as well. So it's kind of weird that they didn't actually take the aspects as because X-Men, and even with the downgrade of Fox and the MCU taking over, it's still one of the biggest type of money makers for Marvel and in comics. So it's
yeah.
that they didn't do it.
One thing that I did notice, and I guess you probably have it for later in the conversation, you mentioned that there's times where the writer seems to, like, import a misunderstanding of how the Avengers relate to each other, and just assume that that's how the Justice League relates to each other. Is that something you have on the list?
Funny enough, that's actually next on the list.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that really fucking bothers me, because it's like, with the Avengers, they're all just basically a bunch of co-workers.
Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on. You want me to see that they were going into this relates to?
Sure.
Okay, so inside the movie, there's a moment where, inside the exact same moment, after the whole entire autopilot joke that failed flat, it's like,
okay, I know.
Wonder Woman was talking to Black Yang, and Wonder Woman's having this entire moment where she's saying that her team doesn't understand her, and I'm like, what?
What fucking member of the team doesn't understand you? Everyone in the Justice League's main 7, no matter what it is, basically can always understand each other, because they're not just co-workers. These people are genuinely friends with each other. Like, they actually know each other quite intimately. There's a reason they know each other by name.
Yeah, it's like, the entire Justice League cast is more of a found family than an actual team. It's like, they will go to bat with each other. They'll go to bat for each other, and even in situations where it's like, it doesn't benefit them at all. Like, for example, the Superman-Batman Public Enemy story when Lex Luthor became president. There is absolutely no benefit for Batman to team up with Superman throughout the entire adventure, but he still does so because he trusts Superman.
Yeah.
And
it's not even that he trusts Superman, it's that, like, he actually cares about Clark, because Clark is a friend. That's why he goes to bat for him.
Let me give you a little lesson. Can't escape from
in fact, the inciting incident that brings the two together wasn't Batman trying to bring Superman aboard or trying to tell Superman that he's in the wrong. No, it's Superman is them coming together and Batman saying that he trusts Superman, but that he need everything to have in order to go throughout this event. And depending on if you read the comic or watched the movie, the incident that started the entire train of the two becoming public enemies varies, but I honestly would say I prefer the movies where hang on, what was his name again? The robot with the cyborg with the kryptonite in his chest?
Metallo?
Yeah, Metallo. Sorry, it's like, yeah, it's like, so, and I like the movies version better where Metallo's the one who came to attack him and Lex Luthor used altered footage to showcase Superman being a villain. Like, that was a very compelling argument, and even then, you can say that it's because Batman was there to watch, but it's more along the line of Batman really cared about Superman and cared about Superman that he was willing to go to bat for Superman, team up together, and go against the entire world in order to, including the people that they cared and trusted about, in order
to be fair, it was also a difference in procedure in that story. It's like Power Girl didn't really think Superman was guilty. She was just like, look, we got to do this by the system. And Batman's point was, no, the system in this particular situation is rigged. It is broken, so we can't work within this particular system. And to be fair, in that story, I find Captain Atom is quite out of character. But, you know, it's kind of hard to keep a lot of these characters, like, in your head when you're writing for these when you're writing for them, you know, considering how many there are at times. So you can give leeway for larger casts because maybe you just need, for story purposes, something to happen, and you can give post hoc rationalizations for why they act this way. But, you know, the way in which Captain Atom is out of character in the story is nowhere near as bad as how everyone is out of character in this movie.
And to basically continue on that, it's like, I actually can understand why Captain Atom would be the way it probably was inside that movie, because, like, as most people forget, it's like, Captain Atom, he may be a hero, he may team up with the Justice League every now and again, but he's a soldier first, so it's like, he's given direct orders from the higher up, so it's like, I can fully understand why they have him actually go against Superman and Batman until the truth is fully revealed. I can understand that. What I can't understand is Wonder Woman not thinking, the Justice League and understand what she is. And
there's literally a joke in the original Justice League cartoon where Hawkgirl makes a play on the words. It's like, I guess we're the Just Us League, commenting on the fact that like every one of them comes from broken families. A lot of them are orphans. It's like, so they actually understand each other quite well. They've all had similar experiences, either in their personal lives or as the result of being superheroes. So it's like, I don't buy that description. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so sanctimonious. It's an insult to like all of her friends.
Oh my god, you're breaking up hard time here.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
You probably need to show a less demanding game, because I think it's breaking you up.
Oh no.
You're done. Just warming up.
Yeah, you might want to change it to something a lot less demanding, or work on your settings a little.
Hold on. Really? Where's the fucking start button? The start button doesn't work.
Well, I guess we have to wait until after you're murdered.
I don't understand why the start button wouldn't work. Well, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, but...
Okay, so what I think happened is I think this particular stage lags my computer.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that was a major lag. Holy shit, that was huge.
Isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Anyway, so where were we?
So I was about to say, so we were talking about basically there, how it's kind of odd that Wonder Woman thinks no one in the Justice League understand him. But I was about to say, it's like, I think the reason is because for the longest time, the Marvel and Avengers had been the biggest brand next to the MCU, and a huge part of that. A huge part of the dynamics is that while they do have friendships in the Avengers, they act more like co-workers. Like, these aren't the people that you'll be like, hey, you want to have a drink after work today? No, they're more along the line of like, okay, work's done, I'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, the closest thing to a Justice League member in the Avengers is Thor and Captain America, those two.
I don't know, Hulk and Spider-Man, the few and the small
We're talking about yeah, it depends. Your point stands. It depends on what era of the Avengers you're talking about.
It's hardly any fun if you break them too
like,
quickly.
they have become more friends in the later eras, like, but for the most part, they still have the co-worker dynamic rather than the friendship. While the Justice League has always had the more friendship dynamic. And it actually even shows, like, back in the Golden Age issues where back then, at the beginning stages, like, if you read them, the Avengers, they only talk formally amongst each other. They never really get too much into what each other does outside of what they can bring to the team. While in Golden Age for the Justice League, you'll have moments where the League are screwing around with each other. It's like, what's a good? Let me see. What's a good example?
You sure you're ready for this?
Okay, I can't find it now, but I do remember an issue where basically the League kind of messed a seat with one of the founding members, and after the member had fallen, I think it was the Flash. The entire team laughed at it, and even the Flash himself took it with stride.
I mean, the thing about the League is, again, they're basically like a family. They do rib each other quite a bit. So, but that's what, you know, classical friends did. They, you know, playfully rib each other. You know, make sure that they're tough. That's the whole purpose behind it. It's not bullying. It's making sure your friends stay tough. Anyway, but
yeah, like, and I was bringing it up, showing the different dynamics.
But anyway, so where were we again?
I swear that.
So we just finished that entire weirdness with Wonder Woman. So and I think that was the last thing that we have for the main issues we had with Wonder Woman. So on to Batman, which I forgot to put it here, but so the fact that they gave Batman powers.
I fucking hate that. Yeah.
I hated that in the comics. I hate that in this movie. It's like, Grant, I like it better aspect in this movie is because Batman's transported to a world that alters everything. But still, I hate how they implemented it.
Yeah.
Which is odd because one of my most favorite.
Seems it's our turn, RWBY.
Okay, do say. Which is odd because one of my most favorite stories is a Batman Green Lantern comic book crossover where Sinestro steals the core of the Green Lantern, so what power they have in the ring is very limited and they can't recharge it. But Batman is there to help, and so what the Green Lanterns did, because they trust Batman enough, they use a little bit of their power in order to give Batman a Green Lantern suit. So he has the abilities of the Lanterns temporarily throughout the fight until they can get their core back. So it's basically giving Batman powers, and I actually really enjoyed that comic. So it's like they could have done something similar to inside this movie and found a way to justify giving Batman powers and have him still be in character, but that's not what they did. It felt like that they gave Batman powers because he is the Batman, so they needed someone to represent the funniest.
Yeah, they heard Batman and they're like, that'd make a great funnest. It's like, not really, actually. No. It undermines the whole purpose of Batman. I mean, again, he was literally the god of knowledge at one point, and he didn't stay that way.
For a reason. Not just in comic, not just because of a writer's reason, but because it actually fit perfectly with the character.
Yeah.
But speaking on those weird choices, like, while I do like the choice of Batman and Weiss beating up together because they complement each other quite well, and that's what they could have if they would have kept the character. But the fact is that when Batman first meets Weiss, he just brings up the entire multiverse concept out of the blue without any consideration on if Weiss even knows what the multiverse is.
I would imagine that. Yeah, he brings. It fucking boggles the mind that he would reference Nero watching Rome burn when he knows he's on a planet or a dimension or a universe, whichever one you want to use. That is not Earth. Nero would have no historical relevance to them. They'd have no frame of reference to understand that concept. So.
Especially since because the entire, especially since because look about the world around it, and you can clearly tell it's nothing like Earth. Especially just because later on they had a moment where Batman's confused about why he's referring to dust as the energy story, which I'll give him credit, actually makes sense.
Yeah, that one actually did make sense. Not, there are some things where it's like, yeah, that any crossover with any other world would probably have to have the explanation that, like, no, we don't have a different word for dust and dust. We have one word to refer to the propellants, like, the material we use as a propellant, and the material that, just gathers when you're not, tidy. So.
Yeah, we have to double his dues. But
here's the thing. But here's the thing. They should have, if they really wanted to highlight that, they should have capitalized on it, because there's at least some interesting world-building potential there. Because let's be fair, if you've ever studied foreign languages before, you would understand that there's not always a distinct concept for things that are distinct in your language. A commonly cited example is not every language has a distinct word for blue and green. And there's a lot of them where you have to add in extra information to determine whether or not you're talking about blue or green. Mayan comes to mind. Zulu and Xhosa come to mind. Old Chinese comes to mind. There's a lot of them.
And again, these are the same writers who can barely understand English.
Anyway, so what's the next thing?
Oh, the next thing is that this Batman. And now you put it as this Batman doesn't talk like how normal Batman talks, but I actually found a version of Batman that this one does talk like, not fully, but it talks more like it. So there's an actual animated cartoon series called The Batman, where it's basically an alternative story on what if Batman didn't have the trauma of having his parents killed.
I fundamentally reject your statement that he talks like that Batman. That's why I put it like that.
No, I'm saying it's not perfectly, but he talks more like that Batman than the regular one, because that Batman is a bit snarkier and brings up topics that don't fully relate. So, like, I think that's what they were trying to go for, but clearly they failed at it. Especially when they bring up lines like where Batman goes talking about Weiss's memories and says they are like soup in your brain. It's like, what the hell are you even trying to say with that line? Like, I understand what they're trying to say with it, but it's a very odd line to say.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's that aspect when Batman's powers first activate, like when his wings first grow out of his body, which is very odd, even by Fawn's standards. It's like, and then Batman's trying to fly, and he's like, how does Clark do this? Like, why?
It's a complete non sequitur, yeah.
It's like, you have two main characters four that you can bring up that have wings that fly, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they're usually founding members. If Hawkman's not a founding member, it's then Hawkgirl. Yeah. And vice versa. Rarely are either of them not a founding member.
Oh, I just got destroyed in that last part. Anyway, so yeah, like that's what I was thinking. And it's like there's a number of characters you could have said this for. It would have made more sense to talk about fucking Harder Call than it would Kal-El.
Yeah.
Like, because Kal-El basically just Superman flies through telekinesis. That's basically what it is. He has a tactile telekinesis. So all he has to do is he basically wills himself to move. And just like you will your arm to move, like to pick up an apple, he wills his altitude and position in three-dimensional space to change. It's not that hard of a concept. But when it comes to like Carter Hall, that's the one that would be confusing. Huh?
It's like there's no way to equate Superman's flight to flight with wings.
Yeah. Like there's no fucking overlap.
Okay, next thing on the list is actually something you and me agree with that the movie did right. So after Batman, inside Batman's cell, after he's captured by Weiss's father, which was a very odd thing, he's like, he does take the time and easily learns how his powers work. That's actually something that does fit well with Batman's character. As well, when Weiss comes to rescue Batman, Batman just shows he could have gotten out any time. He was just waiting for Weiss to show up, which again is very fitting to the character.
Whenever you are, Harada.
Yeah, I'm just weirded out by the acid spit thing. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing I would expect from a RWBY superpower.
Not only that, but it's like I still question. It still makes me. It still that why give Batman powers? Like it completely fundamentally destroys his character.
Yeah. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Continue because I was about to move on to the next.
To be perfectly honest, I realized I was probably jumping ahead. So go on.
Okay, so the next bullet point. There comes a part where Batman and Weiss are heading towards the lab to figure out what's going on, and they come in contact with Grimm somehow in Atlas and are trying to guard the lab. So Weiss and Batman face it, which fine, that's something that they would do. But the weird part is there's a moment where one of the Grimms, a Beowulf, I believe. No, wait, what's the bear Grimm called?
That's an Ursa.
Jeez,
yeah, when Ursa's about to attack Batman, and Batman has a whole bunch of moves he could do. He can judo throw, he could dodge, roll out of the way. Like, there's 100 moves that he can do. What does this Batman do? He basically freaks out and waits to be attacked.
Yeah, I would have expected a lot more of the gymnastics that Batman is actually known for in that particular fight.
Especially since we mentioned, RWBY's an action series. The fans came to RWBY for action, and Batman's a perfect character to bring in because of how he fights.
Yeah.
And the fact that one character they underutilized how he fights throughout the entire movie, and specifically with that one scene, is very odd.
It seems it's our turn, RWBY.
Yeah.
And continue with that. And continue with that. It's like not long after that moment, they managed to get into the lab, and one of the first things that Weiss tells Batman is that he would fit perfectly in Remnant, and the anime is clearly designed to where Batman is considering staying in Remnant, which one isn't actually Remnant, so he doesn't even know what the real Remnant is like. But
Yeah.
two, there's what little remnant he's seen, there's nothing enticing him to stick around and abandon Gotham.
Alright, so let's be fair. I saw this as a tweet before we ended up seeing the show because it leaked. I agree with people saying, like, someone on the fucking team was clearly trying to ship Weiss with Batman, which makes me very uncomfortable.
I felt that heavily. Like, they clearly were. Like, they weren't being subtle with that at all. Like I said, this writer is not good with subtlety at all.
Look, man, I didn't like it when Batman slept with fucking Batgirl. I didn't like it when back in the when was this, like the 60s, when they tried to make Batman a pederast. I don't like this whole thing. It's like just let him stay with Catwoman, for the love of God.
Yeah, it's like Catwoman may be a villain, but they actually fit each other's dynamics perfectly, and actually complement each other, both as villains and as partners.
Or if you really want, you know, ship them with Wonder Woman. But anyway.
Nobody can stand against us.
Anyway, so yeah, I just found that very uncomfortable when in that particular scene. It's like interesting. I'm not gonna speculate on the motives there. But, you know, I'm just saying, interesting that this happened.
Now, granted, I think the two would actually make great friends, but not a relationship.
Oh yeah, no. Here's the thing. I think the RWBY team in general would get along smashingly with the Justice League as a whole. But in the same way, the Teen Titans usually get along smashingly with the Justice League.
Yeah.
Where's the big guy? Ah, here he is.
Okay, to move away from weird-ass relationship choices, when they finally get into the lab and are working on the systems in order to try to figure out what's going on, Batman says this lab has everything, and
there's not a lot of visual indication of things going on in that lab. At least not in respect to the shit he's used to.
Like the Batcave, the Watchtower, the Gotham Tower, which, I'll be honest, like, if you want to compare anything to what Batman deals with, the Gotham Tower is the best example because they're the closest. It's because it's, even when it's in use, it's still in repairs. Like, most of it is just basically the foundation without anything being built into it. But it still has more advanced tech and tools that Batman can use for his detective work than that one room has. So anything you want to add on to that before we move on?
Not really. I'm just very underwhelmed by the lab that impressed Batman. Just putting it out there.
Okay, this is something that you added into the notes. So after that, and Weiss basically brings up a piece of the Grimm, which I do like how they point out that the Grimm naturally don't leave anything behind. I'm actually glad they remembered that aspect at least. But after that, Weiss brings up the idea of using it to help find out where the team is, and Batman is worried that they may be the only ones there and might not have any chance to get back home.
I guess I'm a pretty good fighter.
Yeah.
Which is very out of character. It's like, we have seen many stories, the Omega Sanction and Bat Metal are
you don't get much more. You don't get much more isekai than the Omega Sanction. Just forced to constantly reincarnate throughout history, so you never get back home. You know, and he still manages to get his way back home. It's like, because he is a god among men. Right.
It's like, some of the story, a man keeps getting reincarnated because he chooses not to die.
Man is too angry to achieve nirvana.
So it's like, if he can go through all that and like, I hate the different continuity type arguments because most of the continuities before these woke activists took over are now part of the mainline's timeline. Actually, still hold these characteristics, which means if this is supposed to be representing the mainline Batman, which it is supposed to be if we go by the creators, then this Batman should have the same will and determination as the one who went through the Omega Sanction.
Yeah. I also can't help but, you know, not about this movie particularly, but this is also why I cannot stand the way Mr. Miracle is depicted in Tom King's writing, because it's like Mr. Miracle is the literal god of freedom. You know, he is literally the embodiment of the concept of escape and freedom. So if Batman could find a way out of the Omega Sanction, how the fuck did Mr. Miracle not? You cut out there, but I heard that.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
In continuing what's in, I just agreed with them. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. So
okay. So next part. So okay, the next part, going back to his powers. He overvalues his newfound powers to a ridiculous degree, which contradicts everything that he has learned throughout his entire world.
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on this when I brought up the fact he was the god of knowledge at one point, and the fact that, you know, he saw what would happen if he overvalued superpowers as opposed to, you know, his humanity. That's the whole point of the Bat Metal saga. So, it's strange. I guess you could chalk it up to he doesn't remember his life before that. But then if he doesn't remember anything before that, how the fuck is he still retaining his technical knowledge in order to do things like hacking? Couldn't you just suppress that memory?
Yeah, it's like, and this is a problem I have with most forms of amnesia. It's like, clearly, this amnesia act isn't designed to feel a compelling story. It's just clearly designed in order to actually make sure that the story flows the way the writer wants. It's artificial, not natural.
But yeah. So that's my thing. Is just, again, Batman's totally out of character in like a fucking unfathomable. I don't care what they say. Almost none of the characters. I don't think any of the characters were really the characters they're alleged to be. They just lack fundamental properties that make, like, there's fundamental properties that make Batman who Batman is that's just not in this rendition of Batman. Therefore, since those are things that make Batman Batman, and they're not in this version of quote-unquote Batman, this is not Batman. It's as simple as that.
I brought it up last stream, but to bring it up here again, it's like, if you go to a convention, and which one would you rather try to go to? One that you can see Robert Downey Jr. or Robert Downey Jr. stunt double? It's basically the exact same thing here. We're not here to see someone cosplaying Batman. We came to this movie to see these characters, to see Batman, to see Superman, and see the RWBY crew.
Yeah. And again, the RWBY crew aren't particularly in character either, so...
Okay, so I'm skipping the next part because that's about Batman's return to home, which we already covered. So the next, and that was the last part for Batman. So we're moving on to Superman now, which at the beginning, Superman's a little dazed and confused at the beginning, but even then, it takes them forever to finally act into combat. He clearly doesn't understand the new powers to a ridiculous degree. In fact, it takes him a while to even see that he doesn't have his powers.
We talked about this part a little bit, about it's like, there's no way Superman wouldn't know something's fundamentally wrong when his vision gets carved down to human levels. Not to mention his sense of hearing, his sense of all of his wildly superhuman senses. When they go down to human level, there's no way he doesn't notice that.
Also, something that we kind of forgot to mention, and inside the notes I'm just going to bring up here, it's like the aspect that Superman, and the aspect they use in order to show Superman and finally realizing he doesn't have his powers, which is kind of odd. is that Superman tries to fly at the beginning to join to enter into combat, and he just lands on his feet, unable to fly. But yet later on, when they're actually fighting the Grim Fort, he just suddenly starts flying out of the blue without any explanation.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, I think that what the movie was supposed to be implying, and I don't think it did a good job communicating this, is that as the lie is dispelled by the Green Lantern as time goes on, they slowly gain access to more of their powers. But it only seems to be super...
You're breaking up.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, so where you start breaking up with... Yes. So where you start breaking up with is at the Green Lantern part.
Okay, so... what I think it's trying to explain, or what it was trying to convey, but I don't think it did a good job at it, is as the lie is being dispelled by Jessica Cruz, they gain access to more of their powers. But if that's the case, why do they still retain their semblance? Because Wonder Woman doesn't really get her powers back. Neither does, like, anyone else. Like, again, Vixen doesn't really get her powers back until maybe getting her necklace. To be fair, Vixen's powers is her necklace, so I guess that's a bad example. But you get my point.
Yeah.
Like, there are other characters in the story that should have more powers. They just don't get them back. Only Superman seems to get flight.
Yeah, Superman is the only one who gets his flight, his strength. Like, all the powers we associate with Superman, he starts getting back later on. Which is very odd. Why doesn't this work for any of the other characters?
Hold on. I think I figured out what's going on with Superman. Because I remember reading a breakdown of how the comic book version of the RWBY Justice League is portrayed in... Hold on. He retains his powers from his original world. Okay, that's from the anime. That's not what I mean, from the show. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh, for the love of... Give me one moment. How do I get to the... Where's the comic book version? Because I think the way... Oh, here it is. Really? Oh my god. So on the RWBY wiki, they have it separated between Clark Kent as the fucking comic version and Superman as the show version. That's fucking obnoxious. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so in the RWBY Justice League comic, he has super strength, speed, heat vision, and flight. Which is weird because everyone else seems to more or less only have like one power.
To be fair, Superman can be overpowered and ridiculous and boasting a multitude of powers beyond anyone else. So it's like, I think they're trying to...
Okay, I found out what it is. So, these morons wrote it incorrectly. I just looked it up at from the actual source. And it's described as he can do whatever dust can do. And since gravity dust is a thing, I think we're meant to extrapolate that he is using the power of... emulating the power of gravity dust. So... I think that's the idea. It would have been nice for them to have explained this directly in the show, like they explained how Wonder Woman's semblance works in the show. But you know,
yeah. Oh, and in case anyone doesn't know, the Wonder Woman inside the show and inside the RWBY comic, the way of how her powers work is that she can summon any type of weapon she needs for her body and emulate the power granted from that. So, like, if she wants flight, she emulates gauntlets onto her hand, focus on it while she takes flight. Because they grant her flight. If she wants strength, she summons her lasso for strength, which is kind of odd because I would have had lasso be truth.
Yeah, that's to be perfectly honest, the fucking it's odd to associate her gauntlets with flight when her gauntlets are strength restrainers. That's why in Project A-ko. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you've never seen Project A-ko, you should. It's an old school 90s anime which focuses on a girl that is, and I shit you not, revealed at the end of the first movie to be the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman. And like, there's actual DC lore built into this anime movie, to the extent that in one of the sequel movies, when she takes off her gauntlet, they're not really gauntlets, they're more like forearm braces. When she takes off her forearm braces, she actually gets wildly stronger, and she doesn't really expect how stronger she is, which is a straight nod to the comics of the time.
Yeah, like her rival, who is clearly designed to be the daughter of Iron Man. But when she hears that Eiko will get stronger when she removes those bracelets of hers, like she's even joking that it's like Eiko can't get that much stronger, and then Eiko delivers a powerful blow. It's like, oh shit, she is that strong.
No, it wasn't even that. It's like the first time she accidentally uses her powers in that movie, she just like does she just waves someone away, you know, kind of awkwardly. Just like does a little like polite hand flip, and she fucking she basically all mites the weather.
Yeah. But to get back to what we're talking about, that was very odd. And what is even odder is like after they finished the first batch of Grimm, which spoiler alert, like the first ability Superman learns to activate is his heat vision, and he completely decimates the entire wave of Grimm. It's like so, and after that, they asked Superman what they should go, what his name is, and he refers to himself as Superman. He has that whole entire heroic moment, and then Yang's like, "Yeah, we're not calling you that." So, and he just tells them to just call him Clark, which is odd because
it's odd because
in any other situation, Superman would just told him to refer to him as Kal-El, which is a name that he always tells other alien races to call him, or that they naturally call him. And in this case, since we have an alternate world, they fall under the category of what they would refer to them as Kal-El.
Yeah, because they're basically aliens. But that being said, that bothered me too as soon as that happened, because it's like, the reason he never gives his real human name out is because because if he doesn't give it out, it doesn't get traced back to his family in Smallville. It's not like he hasn't met aliens that can't read your fucking mind, for example. That's why he has psychic barriers placed on him to make it harder to do that. So it's like he's taken a great deal of effort to make sure his family is safe, and one of those efforts is he doesn't unless he knows you personally and trusts you highly and expects that you have undergone something to help keep his identity safe even from telepaths, he doesn't tell you his real name.
Yeah, like if anyone ever finds out his real name, it's usually either because he trusts them in order to do so, or they manage to actually bypass those psychic barriers to discover his name. So it's very odd that he tells Ruby and Yang, the two people he just met and have no idea whether or not if they're trustworthy or not, that his name is Clark and not Kal-El.
Enemy approaching. Let's see. How do you want to handle this, Waltz?
Now, later on in the movie, where they go to face the wave of Grimm after getting to know each other and figuring out who the villain is, and he said refer to his name as Kal-El, from Kal-El to Clark, that would make perfect sense. But no, not right off the bat.
Just warming up. Just warming up.
Okay. Should I move on to the next part?
Yes. I'm getting fucking annihilated here.
Okay, so after and this one really irked me. So it's like after the Ruby and Yang learned that Superman's from an alternate world, Yang says that would explain a few things.
But it explains nothing!
The only thing that explains is that Superman's confusion of the world. Like, yeah, the designs that they did for the RWBY, for the Justice League characters for the RWBYverse is very odd and different than what you expected Justice League to be. But they're very in line with what the RWBYverse has for designs for their characters. In fact, we've seen characters from the RWBYverse are in more outlandish clothing than the Justice League crew.
That's literally a feat. Yeah, that particular thing. That's not a bug. It's a feature of their design. They were redesigned in the comic version for RWBY Justice League crossover to look as and fit within Remnant as a world. Damn. I'm gonna do a rematch for that one.
And not going to help you much.
I was getting my ass kicked. Anyway, so. What's the next point? Or did we not explore the one we were just on enough?
Consider brushing up on your tactics a little more. Not all battles.
So I'm looking at the designs that they have for the movie for the Justice League character, and it's like, yeah, it's all very much in line with with the RWBY crew. What I will say is that for some of them, mainly, let me see now. Yeah, mainly Flash, and yeah, Flash. One of the key aspects of the character designs that Ohms was going for when it came to designing the cast of RWBY is that everyone should be simple to cosplay. It's like you can easily either grab a piece of clothing from a store, or basically it's not going to break your bank or be difficult to cosplay as the characters. That's why Ohms designed them as they are. But looking at Flash and to a lesser extent Batman and Cyborg, I'm kind of getting a pass on that because of his roboticness. They do take a little bit more effort to cosplay in these versions than they do with the rest of the RWBY crew.
Can't escape from crossing fate.
But that's basically all I have to say about their characters. It kind of breaks the Ohms approach a little.
Fair enough.
Okay, I'm skipping the part of Superman being confused about not being confused about dust when it's first mentioned because we already talked extensively about that. But, so the next part is before they went to fight the Grim Horde, the RWBY crew were explaining to the Justice League what the Grims are, and Superman says he has never met anything like the Grim, and I'm like, you faced against a Kryptonian species that are way more diverse and dangerous than the Grim. How the hell are the Grim confusing to you?
Yeah. It was pretty fucking mind-boggling. It's like, yeah, nothing in RWBY has ever gone to the extent of fucking Apocalypse's Parademon army. I'm sorry, but I would rather fight the fucking Titans from Attack on Titans than I would the fucking Parademon armies.
Just warming up.
Well, the reason I mentioned the Grim, the Kryptonian aliens, is because if you actually look at the different type of designs that they have, they're way more diverse than what you would see in the Grim, and they're species that Superman has been collecting. So it's like that's why I brought them up. But yeah, the Parademons are more dangerous and more of mindless monsters than the Grim, even though they work for Darkseid. So yeah, that entire statement right there was very odd.
Huntsmen, Ragnar the Blood Edge.
Should I move on to the next part, or do you have anything else to say?
I mean, they're fucking, like, the Atraxi, the fucking Daxamites, again, Apocalypse. What haven't they faced at this point?
Yeah. It's like, if anything, the Grim actually looks like something basic
like the
for the Justice League.
But the fucking Atraxi, I really hope I'm getting their name right. It's been a while. They're basically the fucking Geists from RWBY, the ones that, like, just, you know, the spirits that go into elemental forces. We're talking about, like, the formation of the New Earth Justice League.
Can't escape from crossing fate.
Yeah, so it's like, if anything, the Grim are a dime a dozen to the Justice League.
No, I'd say they're strange, but they're also, again, nothing that would be particularly, like, earth-shattering.
Just warming up.
Yeah, which is very odd, which makes the line way more odd. Okay, it's okay if I move on to the next point?
Yes.
Okay, next point and last part for Superman is a quote from him. Leadership is more than heart, and distress does not make you alive. Rather, distress signals the significance of value of life.
So basically, you had no idea what I was getting at when I wrote that note down.
You'll catch a cold if you sleep.
Very much so.
Anyway, so that's the part where she's talking about, like, what it means to be in the Green Lantern Corps, right?
Come on, boys. Let's go.
No, that's when Superman was talking to RWBY about leadership when the
big villain. Yeah. So the thing is what Superman told her in some respects, depending on what part of the story you're talking about, is correct. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, RWBY, but you don't get the luxury of just, like, freezing. you're the team leader. You're kind of screwed with that particular responsibility. But the problem is that it's about more than just heart. You can have the heart to keep the team together. That doesn't mean you're the leader. The leader is the one with the ability to make the decision, the appropriate decisions that are needed for the team. You know, to get everyone alive back home safely. So it requires a particular... The leader must be, in a sense, a tactician, but also have a sufficient degree of humanity to balance the practical and the moral needs of the team.
Can't escape from crossing fate.
Which, bringing up Volume 9, it's like, the biggest point of both Volume 9 and this movie, it needs to focus more along the line of RWBY's leadership of the team. Like, it's like, no joke, inside both Volume 9 and in this movie, there's huge emphasis on RWBY's lack of being a good leader. And quite honestly, I say I prefer this movie approach where RWBY finds someone who actually can help her become a better leader by giving her the guidance that she needs, rather than Volume 9 where she just happenstancely falls into the...
I don't think that... The reason why I disagree with how that's characterized, but we can save that for another stream.
I was about to say that. I was about to say there's issues I have in both. I prefer this movie's version. Now, the reason why both have an actual issue is because the team was divided and were working on both this movie and the show at the same time, causing issues for both. Which is why I say that instead of having the two be separate and expanding the team to a point where they couldn't handle it, they should have just combined both projects together.
RWBY.
I mean, I think this movie, it was, considering all the shit that was leading up to it, I think this movie was entirely avoidable and should have been avoided.
Yeah. But if you're going to have it, but if you were going to have it because Warner Brothers was forcing you to have it, instead of just forcing your team to do more than they could handle, combine both projects together is what I say. Again, I do agree with you. This movie could have easily been avoidable, but the fact that Warner Brothers demanded this movie be made, they should have found a way to actually correlate the two together. And that way, instead of having two pseudo products that instead of having two products where one is dog shit and the other one's passable, it could have potentially had one work that was good, fully good.
I mean, I don't really know how I feel about bringing like the RWBY to be canonically a part of the DC universe. But then again, just by adding them into, like, I guess, like, I don't know what the canon status of the comic for the Justice League RWBY is, to be perfectly honest. But that alone...
It's not canon.
Okay, good. Because that brings up a lot of fucking weird issues.
Yeah, it's like, they've already talked about it. The entire RWBY Justice League comic is an X-World story for both stories. It's like literally no connection whatsoever to any. So that's basically all I have about that part. Do you have anything else to say? Because if not, then we will move on to the biggest offender of this entire movie.
Oh yeah, the thing I've been waiting for this entire time, eh?
Yes.
Let's move on to when they turned the best character in the movie into the most detestable character in the movie. Holy shit.
Okay, the first part is something that you and me both really were infuriated about. When Jessica said that the ring is a symbol of belonging. When in actuality, it's a symbol. Yeah, like.
It's a signifier.
How did you get belonging out of that?
See, like, the thing is like
out of that?
The thing is that the Lanterns do have a sense of fraternity with each other in the same way that Marines have a sense of fraternity with each other. Law enforcement, you know, firefighters and soldiers and airmen have a sense of fraternity with their own. But that's because they're brothers in arms. That's not about belonging. It's about devoting your life and being willing to sacrifice yourself for others. at least in principle. You know, not to get into like what happens in reality, but that's the point of the Green Lantern Corps, is that it's a fraternity based on self-sacrifice. But the problem is that the exact wording, and you can bring up the wording, but the exact wording doesn't place others at the center. It places herself at the center. In a sense, it makes... Huh?
Before you get on to that, that's because that's the next part. We're talking about the part where she basically is trying to equate the ring from hope to just belonging. Where basically the ring gives... Which, if you know anything about Jessica's entire arc, like, she didn't want the ring at first, which I do agree that the movie. I do like the fact the movie brought up, but no, it's like she saw the ring as a hindrance. Like her. Okay, I'm saying her backstory for the next part, but it says like, yeah, it's like she did not want the ring. It's like the ring did not feel like make her belong. In fact, and the reason why the ring chose her is because she has the aspect that makes people want get close. She had like with Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and all these other characters. The ring didn't give her the power that she needs to belong. Instead, what it did was it chose her because she has all the aspects needed in order to become one of the greats.
Yeah. So.
In fact, that's actually a core aspect of one of my most favorite stories for her. Is when she sees her version of in the future, where she's caught up in the Hall of Heroes, where as one of the greatest heroes in history. Back then, when she was still questioning on why the ring chose her.
I mean, yeah, it's a. I don't know who the fuck told her what the ring was about, but the author of that particular movie is completely fucking wrong as to what the ring stands for. It fucking, like, shockingly wrong, to be perfectly honest. Like,
okay, so moving. Okay, finish off what you're going to take.
No, go on.
Okay, so next part, and I'm going to let you rant about this because I heard you rant about this before. You have a lot to say about this. It's the line. Oh no, wait. Sorry, that's going to be later. So in this part right here, the ring brought experience they'll never have to imagine, that they'll never have to live through. What? Did you?
I watched my friends die. Yeah, Batman watched his parents get murdered. What the fuck is your point?
Superman has an entire is the last of its kind, or one of the last of its kind.
It's like fucking, yeah, it's like Wonder Woman's been exiled from her home. It's like, guess what? You don't know what it means to have any of that happen to you either.
Yeah.
You okay?
Oh, I thought you were continuing. That's why I didn't say it.
No, but my point was like, when people like talk about like comparing your suffering. Like, maybe we shouldn't in this regard, right? Because it seems like, again, the whole joke from the original Justice League cartoon, the Just Us League. It's like, we all come from broken lives and, you know, shattered families, and, you know, we've all lost people important to us.
Yeah, like, I never really understood. It's like comparing your traumas to each other. It's like, so what? You want a medal for what you for your trauma?
It's like, poor guy, you went through so much. Yeah, guess what? Everyone does. Maybe not to the same degree, but you know, you don't. Your trauma isn't what defines you. Overcoming your trauma is what makes you a man, or makes you like a woman.
Sometimes I feel like she drives me crazy if I were
makes you an Apache helicopter.
An Apache helicopter. So, yeah, that one fucking. The only part about that is the second part of that sentence, which is that I never want them to live them through. That I never want them to live through. What?
Yeah, you just said the quote exactly perfectly.
Yeah, and
like, yeah, that's the one line that's actually perfectly in character for her. Which I'm not going to bring up the backstory for why that is until the next part. So if you have anything to say, say it, and then I'll bring up the next part. And this is the part that you are going to be doing the huge rant on.
So, well, it's not going to be a huge rant. We've already been doing this for almost an hour. For almost 3 hours, actually. But the thing I am going to say about it is that, yeah, like, it makes sense. Superman doesn't want to see any of his friends become the last of their kind. But also, Batman doesn't want to see Superman lose his parents. And, you know, Diana would never sit down and watch her friends be exiled by their homelands. It's just that simple. Yes, guess what? All of these people, their motive... See, here's the thing. This is the fundamental misunderstanding that the contemporary writer has about Batman. Yes, Batman suffered trauma, but the trauma didn't make him Batman. What it did is it gave him the resolve and the motivation. It became a mission that he would never, if able, he would never let that happen to anyone else. That's the difference. So it's not that the trauma possessed him, it's that he has chosen to basically do for others what he would have wanted someone else to have done for him.
In fact, I can show that, like, for the throughout the entire Golden and Silver Age run of Batman, the death of his family
is a motivator. It's not, yeah,
not just a motivator.
Ruby, White, win.
Okay, you were kind of breaking up there for a moment.
No, I said it's a motivator. That's where I stopped.
Yeah, it's like it is. In fact, it's just one part of the motivator. It's like it's like everything that they showcased that brought Batman to be who he is. It was kind of more of a footnote than anything. It wasn't until Killing Joke that it became a forefront of who Batman is.
Yeah, but it's like Alan Moore did a lot of like over. I don't want to say projection, but there are a lot of things where it's like I think Alan Moore fundamentally misunderstood certain characters. Where it's like, yeah, guess what? Not everyone is possessed their entire life by the trauma of what happened to them. Which is, by the way, some of the edits to that scene in Injustice, I hate Injustice, but when he's talking to He-Man, this is where I watched my parents die. The Pippa edit to that was the fucking funniest one I've ever seen. But, yeah, it's because, you know, Batman is a hard-ass, but he's not a hard-ass because of his trauma. He's a hard-ass because he doesn't want to see anyone die.
Yeah.
It literally is just that simple. So, yeah, and that's the same with everyone else. They're not motivated, they are motivated by their trauma, but not in the sense that their trauma defines them. It's in the sense that, oh my god. Did I break it? You there, Jeremy? I mean, Doctor?
Yeah, you were still talking for a while, so I was just waiting for you.
Whenever this thing, like, really lags, I have this bad feeling. It's like, oh no! But yeah, they're not defined by their trauma, but their trauma informs their behavior. They are beyond their trauma. That's what makes them heroes. So anyway.
Yeah, and all of our favorite stories is them overcoming these traumas, and not just overcoming these traumas, but also helping use it to motivate them to do better in the world.
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. This has very little to do with religion, but there is a verse in the Book of Wisdom about men being tested by fire. And the reason why is because fire can destroy, as with straw, or it can refine, as with metals. And that's the thing. In order to undergo that positive transformation, you have to be put through fire, metaphorically speaking. And that's the thing that makes them heroes, is that fire has transformed them into something greater, something of greater value to the world, and they can take that fire and they can help other people be transformed by that same fire, even if not in the same way. That's the difference. That's why it's so important that all of the Justice League members, they train sidekicks. That's what's going on a metaphysical level in the story, is they're encountering people, like with Batman, with Robin. They're encountering people with similar trauma, but they're taking it upon themselves to ensure that these people are being refined into what they can be. Their potential is being extracted through this testing by fire to be made into what they are meant to be. So there is a teleology built in. Now, granted, this fucking writer, you know, the gay Tim Drake writer, doesn't know shit about teleology. But that's why a lot of American comics are structured the way they are, at least in the classical sense. There's a teleology, a purpose to how these things are made. And that's the purpose of the sidekick, is the hero has identified something of great potential in the sidekick. And what they've done is they've chosen to cultivate that potential and test it through fire, but test it in a controlled way. That way they can... Again, like, you don't just throw metal ores into fire. No, you have to control how the fire is applied to the metal ores so you can extract what is useful and discard what is not. So, and that's the thing. It's like, all of them have been tested by fire, but they did it, in their cases, on their own. Like, they had to get through it themselves. So when she says they don't want them to, she doesn't want her friends to live through that. Yes, in a very real sense, she doesn't want what happened to her to happen to her friends, because that's terrible. But also, she, in a metaphysical level, doesn't want her friends to be tested and refined in the same way that she's being refined, which is, you know, something she had to do on her own.
Yeah. So I would give some example. We're kind of running long here, so I'll just move on over to our final bulletin point. So, at one key part of the movie, Jessica went trying to find her ring and figure out what her and activate her semblance, and John helping her get trapped into a boiler room by the villain. The boiler room starts closing in on them, and in a panic, they have to try to activate Jessica's semblance to get him out. And inside there, Jessica's trying to focus on basically everything, and says this line: "You have to fight for this. You have, and for your friends, for yourself." And then once when she said yourself, that's when her powers activate.
Now, you watched this before I did, and when we watched it, I was the one who pointed out that that is a fucking, like, that is an actually, like, that is an actual insult to the character, and that's... Okay.
Before you go, I have to defend myself. When I originally watched this movie, I was basically half asleep.
Yeah, you had 3 a.m. brain, yes, I know.
I had 3 a.m. brain, so in my defense, like, I really didn't know most of what's going on in the movie because of that. And when I actually really watched it with you, that's when I was being irked by all of this things. So continue on your end.
Okay, so the structure is actually kind of important, because she's talking about why she needs to do this. And the first thing she mentions is her friends. But the thing that actually pushes her over the edge to, you know, succeed in what she needed to do is when she said she needs to do it for herself. She puts herself in this particular situation at the center of her own universe, which is completely antithetical to the heroic spirit, which is completely antithetical to the Green Lantern spirit. The Green Lanterns are basically Marines. They're basically cops. They're basically soldiers and airmen. Like, they're a defense corps. Their whole thing is putting other people before themselves. This is an inversion of the moral for the Green Lantern and an inversion of the moral of the Justice League, which is to put others before yourself. It's about self-sacrifice, about making that sacrifice so that no one else has to. So when she says she has to do it for herself and puts herself at the center of her own universe, this is the kind of shit that you should see being said from a villain, not a hero, because this is a supremely selfish thing to do. The only reason they survived that situation is not because Jean needed it, is not because her friends needed it, it's because she needed it. It's like, ah, great, fucking completely ruined the most likable character in this entire movie. Fucking great. I was absolutely fucking livid when that happened. I was like, ah, great.
Not only that, not only is it antithesis to what the Justice League and Green Lantern stand for, it's antithesis to what Jessica Cruz herself stands for. Because I've been holding on for backstory until now because it is like, so what Jessica Cruz's backstory is that one day her and her best friends from school decided to go on a camping trip to enjoy their last days, have fun before they enter into the real world. And what they didn't know is that the camping set that they chose was what actual serial killer was hiding in there. So, and when they arrived, they interacted with the killer, and they had to hide in order to actually try to survive. Jessica Cruz ended up choosing the best hiding spot thanks to her buddies. Her buddies ended up accidentally sacrificing themselves to keep her alive, and all Jessica could do is watch them die. That was her doing it for herself.
Yeah, that's the cause of her. That's the cause of her agoraphobia. She has agoraphobia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was remember because Jessica Cruz is the one I have the least familiarity with. But from what little I have seen of the character, I do like the character from the little I've seen. I don't know about now with these modern writers, but
yes. So that's basically her backstory and why she spends most of her time even when she gets the Green Lantern ring at first, out of the fight scene because she doesn't believe she's worthy of it because she cowered, she hid, she did everything for all that for herself and let those two she really cared for die. It's only until later when she sees the attack on the Lantern Corps and who's the big pink guy's name again? I always forget his name. I know he's very important. Yeah, Kilowog. Like, it's only until when the villains are about to kill Kilowog is when her drive to defend activates because of how kind Kilowog's been to her. And so when she defends Kilowog from the villains, and the first time she actually activates her Green Lantern ability. So it's like that line's in completely antithesis to her because the reason for her powers and how she uses the ring isn't because she's trying to do it for herself. In fact, that's how she got her trauma. Instead, the way of how her power, and she activates her power and does everything throughout the entire run in DC, is because she's trying to do everything for others. She's trying to make sure no one has to go through what she went through.
Yeah, but also, I can't help but notice, it's also completely antithetical to the lessons that were was intentionally instilled into RWBY by Ozpin. Why does Ozpin put RWBY as the leader of her team? Because she's the youngest and the most immature. She has to learn to put others before herself, and she has to learn to take responsibility. The responsibility that he piled on her was designed to catch her up to the rest of her team. And it's also the lesson Weiss learned in this thing, too, where she was so concerned about the fact she wasn't the leader that she ended up getting told off because she's being a little bitch. And Professor Port had to tell her, how about instead of being such a spoiled brat, you actually put the needs of your team before the needs of yourself?
Yeah. So not only was that line antithesis to the Justice League, to the Green Lantern, Jessica, also RWBY. It's like the two series that are a part of this. That one statement is antithesis to everything that two worlds stand for.
And you can see this throughout all of RWBY too. It's like, as much as people want to talk about how the fucking the main characters are villains, it's like, yeah, no, they're really not. They're working with limited information. They make mistakes, yes, but guess what? They're usually at least trying to do what is good and virtuous. And hell, they're willing to make the sacrifices that so other people can't. Fucking Pyrrha dies fighting Cinder because she's trying to put everyone else before herself. She saves Jean by doing that. You have Penny. Penny asked Jean to kill her specifically because she was putting their team before herself. Jean does it. Jean kills Penny for that exact reason. She knows that it's going to destroy him, but he does it anyway because the stakes he sees are too high. He's willing to. Now, granted, I think he's wrong in doing this. I think that he actually did make the wrong move. but he still did the wrong thing, putting the good of others before himself. And that's the thing, though. His mistakes are still well-intentioned. Now, they're still mistakes. You can't accomplish good by doing evil ends, and killing an innocent person is an evil... I mean, you can't accomplish good goals with evil means. That's what I mean to say. And that was an evil thing to do.
Yeah, it's like, while I have a lot of faults with Volume 9, I do like the fact that they brought that up. It's like, yeah, everything they've done is good intentions, but it's also, but that they are also not immune from the fact that they said good intentions failed miserably.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was, in my opinion, the worst part of an already bad movie, was that fucking line. I'm like, great. This completely undermines the entire fucking series of RWBY and...
Oh my god, you're breaking up horribly here.
Oh, good lord. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My point was, it undermines that what she said at the lesson there undermines the entire, both series.
How do you want to handle this, Waldstein?
Oh yeah.
Hell, it's like even in Volume 9, where RWBY doesn't take the transformation. If you actually watch the fucking volume, which it seems a lot of people didn't do, she doesn't reject transforming because, I gotta put myself first. No, she rejects the transformation because she's putting everyone else first and foremost. Taking the transformation would have been the easy way out for her. And she understood that she has obligations to her sister and to her friends and to her team. She has an obligation to her team to be herself. You know, she is the leader. She has an obligation to her sister to be her sister. She has an obligation to her friend to be, her, because that's her friend. She had to learn the lesson of fucking BoJack Horseman in that last volume. And it's the only thing that would have allowed her to accomplish that is to accept the personal transformation without the physical transformation, which is obviously what happens. That's why she doesn't come back transformed the same way Little does. But even that is the complete... Even that's the complete antithesis to what Jessica Cruz was saying.
Now, granted, I say she learned that lesson in Volume 9 very wonkily, but that's because they had to devise part of their work to make this movie, which is also a big reason why I say that this movie and Volume 9 should have somehow been merged together, because RWBY kind of learned, and RWBY does get the lesson better in this movie than she does in Volume 9, but as we both say, it is wonky on both ends.
I would disagree. I think the way she learns it in Volume 9 makes more organic sense. But, that being said, if I had to pick it, I would have rather it been, someone like Superman teach her these values. Someone that she can look up to, but will tell her that, but will also teach her that idolization of your heroes is not healthy.
Yeah.
Because that was RWBY's entire thing for Volume 9. In Volume 9, the whole thing was, I'm not good enough. I keep making mistakes. She was not allowing herself to be the grace of being human. Yes, she has to take responsibility being the leader, but being the leader doesn't absolve you of your humanity. That's the lesson. And the lesson is yeah, guess what? Being Summer Rose, the hero you've looked up to your entire life, isn't going to change the situation. Being someone else doesn't actually solve the problem. So, yeah, that's why I'm I think in many ways, the Volume 9 lesson is actually far more organic and far better written than it is in here. I would say, though, if you did have RWBY meet Superman, it would have been probably the most effective way for her to learn this lesson. Because if a literal fucking god among men who can explode stars with his bare hands and could cause universes to come into being just by fucking punching things, fails at times, then yeah, you know what fucking excuse do you have, right?
I swear that girl.
But that would be an encounter with the sublime at that point, so yeah. So I think that's all the notes we had.
I just have one thing to say, and this is actually more of a positive and kind of minor, which is why I forgot to put on. This is like, so I have been avoiding saying the villain of this movie. So, and if you want to, and so whoever's left watching wants to avoid that, do so now. But the villain of this movie, I've seen the story that they used to make this particular movie. It's like, so, and it's like, who are the two characters that they could have chosen to be the main villain of the story? Darkseid and Brainiac, who have made similar type of alternate worlds trapping the Justice League. But the fact that they chose an underrated character, Kilgore, to be the actual villain of this movie, I'll be honest, I actually really enjoyed that. Granted, he was very underutilized in this movie, but the fact that they actually went with someone underrated for this movie, I do appreciate. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, it pains me that they used the fucking new design for Kilgore, and they modified the new design to make it worse, in my opinion. But it pains me they used the new design of Kilgore, because then when he came out, when they showed him, I didn't recognize him. I was like, oh, I never met this version of Kilgore, so eh. We showed it to Omega, and even he was like, I would not have guessed
that
this is...
You started breaking out there. What?
Where did I break up?
I think this overworld thing's causing you to break up. So it's like, you're basically saying that you did not expect it to be Kilgore based on the design.
Oh yeah, when I was eating with Omega earlier, I told him to look up the new design of Kilgore, and he didn't find the RWBY design, he found the comic design, and he's like, that's Kilgore? I never would have recognized him. And to be fair, he's familiar with the old version of Kilgore, so yeah, he looks very different. But that's my point, it's like, they changed up his design for this movie, and it's like, yeah, I would not have recognized him, because, to be perfectly honest, I just straight up wouldn't have recognized him. I'm not familiar with the new Kilgore, and so changing his design would have not made it particularly easy for me to recognize him either. So, I just was never going to catch on that he was Kilgore. It just was not going to happen.
Fair enough. I think I caught on, even inside my half to 3 a.m. brain caught on to that, because I actually...
You heard the Flash say Kilgore? And you were like, so it's Kilgore.
Not only that, but so it's like the fact that in the flashback they were showing the new design of Kilgore, their alternate version, but because I have actually read the entire run of the new Kilgore, like I think I caught on to that quite well, because again, I was more familiar with the new design of Kilgore than you and Omega were. Yeah.
I think that's all we wanted to talk about, is we just wanted to fucking vivisect this terrible movie. I'm not watching any more of these DC animated movies. They ruined. Oh my god, fucking. What was it?
Like I said,
what was the name of the Green Lantern movie? Hold on. What was the name of the Green Lantern movie we were talking about? The one with the
Beware My Power.
There we go.
Beware My
fucking
Power.
Green Lantern, Beware My Power, Justice League, RWBY, and fucking Legion of Superheroes were 3 movies that people were telling me were okay. Not the RWBY one, but the other 2 were movies that everyone was telling me was good, and they're fucking terrible. Like, they are absolutely spitting in the face of the source material. It's like, why would I want to watch this? If I like the source material, if I actually like the Legion of Superheroes, why the fuck would I watch something that's spitting on the Legion of Superheroes? It's just not the kind of thing I was going to watch. If I wanted to watch someone like take a different approach, I could watch an actual original story, like Invincible.
It's like the part that really irritates me the most about this is like DC has always had their highs and lows, but the part that always was consistent beforehand was their animated movies. Yeah, sure, we wouldn't like all of them. Like, I'm pretty sure you and me wouldn't like the 80s cartoons, even though I have tried to watch those before. It's like, and even some of their New 52 run of the animated series, like the Son of Batman or Reign of Superman, weren't good at all. But for the most part, they were very consistent. They were good. They managed to make good stories for the longest time with the run. There was rarely even a dud inside of any of them. And in fact, people like to point out the 2 times DC almost went bankrupt and under, and what were the things that saved them both times? It was the animated run. So the fact that the animated run has started to become this way when everyone's like, and let's be honest, it was the last one of the DC to fall where everything else did. So the fact that the animated runs are starting to become like this when DC owes everything of their existence to these animated stories is quite sad.
Yeah.
What? This is the keystone! No, where's the trash can?
So I basically have nothing else to say. We literally said everything that I wanted to say. Yeah.
So long story short, I liked RWBY Volume 9. I fucking hate this movie.
You mean it?
Yeah, it's like if you want to watch a good RWBY story, watch Volume 9. If you want to watch a good Justice League story, watch the 2000s Justice League and Unlimited.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's an unfair thing to compare it to. Even most of the animated movies that were good don't stand up to that.
If you think that's too much, there's the Justice League Action, which is also a very good run of stories. So, like, watch that instead if you want to.
And it's not CalArts like fucking Thundercats Roar.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that sorry.
That world, the Phantom Field, was entirely...
So are you going to be ending the stream soon?
Pretty much. I'm about to end it right now, actually.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on again. This was a wild ride of talking.
Yeah, I was told that.
Yeah. This is mostly just a fucking rant and vent. Very disorganized.
However, when
even though I did try to organize it.
In the process.
Well, it's kind of fun trying to articulate my thoughts while playing this game, too, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be difficult, and I didn't think it would be... I actually thought it would be harder to do that, to be perfectly honest.
Now all I can do is maintain this tiny physical form.
Well,
I see.
Alright, so you heading off?
Yeah, there's nothing else for me. I'm just going to head off now.
Okay. Well, I'm closing everything down.
Okay. Thanks for having me on again.
No problem.
Bye.